1. Understanding conservation. 1.1 Introduction to Conservation. Conservation is the practice of protecting and preserving the natural environment and its resources. It involves the sustainable management of ecosystems, wildlife, and natural resources to ensure their long-term survival. Conservation efforts are crucial in maintaining biodiversity, protecting endangered species, and preserving the delicate balance of ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the fundamental concepts of conservation and its importance in safeguarding our planet's natural heritage. We will delve into the various threats faced by wildlife and ecosystems, as well as highlight some inspiring conservation success stories. What is conservation? Conservation is a multidisciplinary field that encompasses various strategies and approaches to protect and restore the environment. It involves the sustainable use of natural resources, the preservation of biodiversity, and the promotion of ecological balance. Conservation efforts aim to mitigate the negative impacts of human activities on the environment and ensure the long-term survival of species and ecosystems. Conservation can take many forms, including the establishment of protected areas, habitat restoration, wildlife rehabilitation, sustainable agriculture practices, climate change mitigation, education, and policy development. These approaches work together to address the complex challenges faced by our planet and promote a harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. The importance of conservation. Conservation plays a vital role in maintaining the health and well-being of our planet. Here are some key reasons why conservation is essential. Biodiversity preservation. Conservation efforts help protect the incredible diversity of life on Earth. Biodiversity is crucial for the stability of ecosystems, as each species plays a unique role in maintaining ecological balance. Preserving biodiversity ensures the resilience of ecosystems and their ability to adapt to environmental changes. Ecosystem services. Healthy ecosystems provide a wide range of services that are essential for human well-being. These services include clean air and water, pollination of crops, regulation of climate, nutrient cycling, and natural disaster mitigation. Conservation helps maintain these ecosystem services, which are vital for our survival and quality of life. Endangered species protection. Many species are currently facing the threat of extinction due to habitat loss, poaching, pollution, and climate change. Conservation efforts focus on protecting and recovering endangered species, ensuring their survival for future generations. Sustainable resource use. Conservation promotes the sustainable use of natural resources, ensuring that they are not depleted or exploited beyond their capacity to regenerate. By adopting sustainable practices, we can meet our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own. Climate change mitigation. Conservation plays a crucial role in mitigating climate change. Forest conservation, for example, helps sequester carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas responsible for global warming. Protecting and restoring natural habitats also enhances their resilience to climate change impacts. Threats to wildlife and ecosystems. Despite the importance of conservation, wildlife and ecosystems face numerous threats that jeopardize their survival. Some of the major threats include habitat loss and fragmentation. The destruction and degradation of natural habitats due to deforestation, urbanization, agriculture, and infrastructure development are major threats to wildlife and ecosystems. Habitat loss disrupts ecological processes and displaces species, leading to population declines and loss of biodiversity. Poaching and illegal wildlife trade. Poaching and the illegal trade of wildlife and their products pose a significant threat to many species, particularly those with high market value such as elephants, rhinos, and tigers. This illegal activity drives species towards extinction and undermines conservation efforts. Pollution. Pollution from industrial activities, agriculture, and improper waste disposal contaminates ecosystems and harms wildlife. Chemical pollutants, plastic waste, and oil spills have devastating effects on aquatic ecosystems, while air pollution affects both terrestrial and marine environments. Climate change. The warming of the planet due to human-induced climate change is a significant threat to wildlife and ecosystems. Rising temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events disrupt habitats, alter species behavior, and increase the risk of extinction. Invasive species. Invasive species, introduced by human activities, can outcompete native species, disrupt ecosystems, and cause significant ecological and economic damage. They often lack natural predators or diseases that would control their populations, allowing them to spread rapidly. Conservation success stories. Despite the challenges, conservation efforts have achieved remarkable successes in protecting and restoring wildlife and ecosystems. Here are a few inspiring conservation success stories. Giant panda conservation. The conservation efforts focused on the iconic giant panda in China have led to a significant increase in their population. Through habitat protection, reforestation, and community engagement, the giant panda has been downgraded from endangered to vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. Bald eagle recovery. The bald eagle, the national bird of the United States, faced a severe decline due to habitat loss and the use of pesticides. Conservation efforts, including habitat protection, banning harmful pesticides, and captive breeding programs, have successfully recovered the bald eagle population. Galapagos Islands conservation. The Galapagos Islands, renowned for their unique biodiversity and Charles Darwin's evolutionary studies, have benefited from comprehensive conservation measures. Strict regulations, invasive species control, and sustainable tourism practices have helped preserve the island's fragile ecosystems. Tiger conservation. Conservation initiatives focused on protecting tiger habitats and combating poaching have resulted in a slight increase in tiger populations in some regions. Efforts to reduce demand for tiger products and strengthen anti-poaching measures are crucial for their continued recovery. These success stories demonstrate the effectiveness of conservation strategies and the positive impact they can have on wildlife and ecosystems. By understanding the importance of conservation and the threats faced by our natural world, we can take meaningful actions to support and contribute to conservation initiatives. 1.2 Importance of conservation. Conservation is the practice of protecting and preserving the natural environment and its resources. It plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance of ecosystems, protecting biodiversity, and ensuring the sustainability of our planet. Conservation efforts are essential for the well-being of both wildlife and humans, as they provide numerous benefits and contribute to a healthier and more sustainable future. Biodiversity preservation. One of the primary reasons why conservation is important is the preservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity refers to the variety of life on Earth, including plants, animals, and microorganisms. It is crucial for the functioning of ecosystems and provides numerous benefits to humans. Biodiversity supports essential ecosystem services such as pollination, nutrient cycling, and water purification. It also contributes to the development of new medicines, food security, and climate regulation. Conservation efforts aim to protect and restore habitats that are home to a wide range of species. By preserving biodiversity, we ensure the survival of various plant and animal species, including those that may have important ecological roles or potential benefits for human well-being. Additionally, conserving biodiversity helps maintain the balance of ecosystems, preventing the loss of key species and the disruption of ecological processes. Ecosystem services. Conservation is vital for the provision of ecosystem services, which are the benefits that humans obtain from ecosystems. These services include the provision of clean air and water, soil fertility, climate regulation, and natural resources such as timber, food, and fuel. Ecosystem services are essential for human well-being and economic development. By conserving natural habitats and ecosystems, we can ensure the continued provision of these services. For example, protecting forests helps maintain clean air by absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. Wetlands act as natural filters, purifying water and reducing the risk of floods. Conserving natural resources through sustainable practices ensures their availability for future generations. Climate change mitigation. Conservation plays a crucial role in mitigating climate change. Climate change is one of the most significant threats to the planet, impacting ecosystems, wildlife, and human societies. Conservation efforts help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, promote carbon sequestration, and enhance the resilience of ecosystems to climate change impacts. Forests, for instance, act as carbon sinks, absorbing and storing large amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. By protecting and restoring forests, we can mitigate climate change by reducing the concentration of greenhouse gases. Additionally, conservation practices such as sustainable agriculture and renewable energy promote low-carbon alternatives, reducing the reliance on fossil fuels and minimizing environmental degradation. Cultural and aesthetic value. Conservation is not only important for its ecological and economic benefits but also for its cultural and aesthetic value. Natural landscapes, wildlife, and biodiversity hold significant cultural and spiritual importance for many communities around the world. They provide inspiration for art, literature, and recreation, contributing to the overall well-being and quality of life. Conservation efforts help preserve cultural heritage and traditional practices that are deeply connected to the natural environment. By protecting natural areas and promoting sustainable tourism, we can ensure that future generations can experience and appreciate the beauty and diversity of our planet. Ethical responsibility. Conservation is driven by an ethical responsibility to protect and preserve the natural world. As humans, we have a moral obligation to be stewards of the earth and to ensure the well-being of all living beings. Every species has the right to exist and thrive, and it is our responsibility to prevent their extinction and the destruction of their habitats. By supporting conservation initiatives, we demonstrate our commitment to ethical values and the protection of the environment. Whether through volunteering, donations, or advocacy, we can actively contribute to the preservation of wildlife and ecosystems, ensuring a sustainable future for generations to come. In conclusion, conservation is of utmost importance for the well-being of our planet and all its inhabitants. It plays a crucial role in preserving biodiversity, providing essential ecosystem services, mitigating climate change, and upholding ethical responsibilities. By understanding the significance of conservation and actively supporting conservation initiatives, we can make a positive impact and contribute to a more sustainable and harmonious world. 1.3 Threats to wildlife and ecosystems. Conservation efforts are crucial for protecting the world's wildlife and ecosystems. However, these efforts face numerous threats that can undermine their effectiveness. Understanding these threats is essential for developing effective conservation strategies. In this section, we will explore some of the major threats to wildlife and ecosystems and their impact on conservation efforts. Habitat loss and fragmentation. One of the most significant threats to wildlife and ecosystems is habitat loss and fragmentation. As human populations continue to grow, natural habitats are being converted into agricultural land, urban areas, and infrastructure development. This loss of habitat disrupts ecosystems and displaces wildlife, leading to a decline in biodiversity. Habitat fragmentation occurs when large, continuous habitats are divided into smaller, isolated patches. This fragmentation restricts the movement of wildlife, disrupts their natural behaviors, and reduces their access to resources such as food and mates. It also increases the risk of genetic isolation and inbreeding, which can lead to reduced genetic diversity and weakened populations. Climate change. Climate change poses a significant threat to wildlife and ecosystems worldwide. Rising temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events can disrupt ecosystems and alter the distribution and behavior of species. Many species have specific temperature and moisture requirements, and even slight changes in these conditions can have detrimental effects. For example, coral reefs are highly sensitive to changes in water temperature. Increased ocean temperatures can lead to coral bleaching, where corals expel the symbiotic algae that provide them with nutrients and color. This bleaching weakens the corals and can ultimately lead to their death, impacting the entire reef ecosystem. Climate change also affects migration patterns and breeding cycles of many species. For instance, some bird species rely on specific timing cues, such as temperature and day length, to initiate migration or breeding. Changes in these cues can disrupt these critical behaviors, leading to population declines. Pollution. Pollution, both chemical and plastic, poses a significant threat to wildlife and ecosystems. Chemical pollutants, such as pesticides and industrial waste, can contaminate water bodies and soil, affecting the health of aquatic organisms, birds, and mammals. These pollutants can accumulate in the food chain, leading to bioaccumulation and biomagnification, where higher-level predators are exposed to higher concentrations of toxins. Plastic pollution is another pressing issue that affects wildlife and ecosystems, particularly in marine environments. Marine animals can mistake plastic debris for food or become entangled in it, leading to injury, suffocation, or starvation. Additionally, microplastics, tiny plastic particles, can be ingested by marine organisms and enter the food chain, potentially harming both wildlife and humans. Overexploitation and illegal wildlife trade. Overexploitation of wildlife for commercial purposes, such as hunting, fishing, and logging, is a significant threat to many species. Unsustainable practices can lead to population declines and even extinction. Additionally, the illegal wildlife trade, driven by demand for exotic pets, traditional medicines, and luxury goods, further exacerbates the problem. Poaching, particularly for high-value species like elephants and rhinos, has devastating consequences for both the targeted species and their ecosystems. The loss of these keystone species can disrupt entire food chains and ecosystems, leading to cascading effects on other wildlife populations. Invasive species. Invasive species, introduced intentionally or unintentionally by human activities, can have severe impacts on native wildlife and ecosystems. These species often lack natural predators or competitors in their new habitats, allowing them to outcompete and displace native species. They can also alter ecosystem dynamics, disrupt nutrient cycles, and degrade habitats. For example, the introduction of the brown tree snake to Guam has led to the extinction of several bird species and decimated the island's native wildlife. The snake, which has no natural predators on the island, preys on birds and their eggs, causing significant population declines. Conclusion. The threats to wildlife and ecosystems are numerous and complex. Habitat loss and fragmentation, climate change, pollution, overexploitation, illegal wildlife trade, and invasive species all pose significant challenges to conservation efforts. Understanding these threats is crucial for developing effective strategies to mitigate their impacts and protect our planet's biodiversity. In the following section, we will explore some inspiring success stories in conservation that demonstrate the positive outcomes of dedicated efforts to overcome these threats. 1.4 Conservation Success Stories. Conservation efforts around the world have achieved remarkable successes in protecting and preserving wildlife and ecosystems. These success stories serve as inspiration and provide valuable lessons for individuals and organizations looking to support conservation initiatives. In this section, we will explore some notable conservation success stories and the strategies that led to their achievements. The recovery of the bald eagle. One of the most iconic success stories in conservation is the recovery of the bald eagle population in the United States. Once on the brink of extinction due to habitat loss, hunting, and the widespread use of the pesticide DDT, the bald eagle population has made a remarkable comeback. Through the implementation of the Endangered Species Act, the banning of DDT, habitat restoration efforts, and captive breeding programs, the bald eagle population has rebounded from just a few hundred pairs in the 1960s to over 10,000 pairs today. This success story demonstrates the power of strong legislation, collaborative efforts, and public support in conserving and recovering endangered species. The reintroduction of the gray wolf in Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone National Park in the United States is home to a diverse range of wildlife, including the gray wolf. However, by the 1930s, the gray wolf population had been completely eradicated from the park due to hunting and predator control programs. In 1995, a reintroduction program was initiated, bringing gray wolves from Canada to Yellowstone. This effort aimed to restore the natural balance of the ecosystem and control the overpopulation of elk. The reintroduction of the gray wolf has had a profound impact on the park's ecosystem, leading to a decrease in elk populations, a resurgence of vegetation, and a cascade of positive effects on other wildlife species. This success story highlights the importance of reintroducing keystone species and the role they play in maintaining healthy ecosystems. The conservation of the giant panda in China. The giant panda, an iconic symbol of conservation, has faced numerous threats, including habitat loss and fragmentation. However, through dedicated conservation efforts, the giant panda population in China has seen a significant increase in recent years. The Chinese government has established a network of protected areas, known as panda reserves, to safeguard their habitat. Additionally, conservation organizations have worked closely with local communities to promote sustainable livelihoods and reduce human-wildlife conflicts. These efforts, combined with international collaborations and public awareness campaigns, have contributed to the recovery of the giant panda population. The conservation of the giant panda serves as a testament to the effectiveness of protected areas and community engagement in preserving endangered species. The restoration of the Loess Plateau in China. The Loess Plateau in China was once plagued by severe soil erosion, leading to desertification and ecological degradation. However, through the implementation of the Grain for Green program, which aimed to convert farmland back to forest and grassland, the Loess Plateau has undergone a remarkable transformation. The program involved the relocation of farmers, the establishment of terraces and check dams, and the planting of millions of trees. As a result, soil erosion has been significantly reduced, water resources have been replenished, and biodiversity has been restored. The restoration of the Loess Plateau demonstrates the power of large-scale ecological restoration projects and the importance of sustainable land management practices. The protection of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The Great Barrier Reef, the world's largest coral reef system, has faced numerous threats, including climate change, pollution, and overfishing. However, through collaborative efforts between the Australian government, conservation organizations, and local communities, significant progress has been made in protecting and preserving this natural wonder. The establishment of marine protected areas, the implementation of sustainable fishing practices, and the reduction of pollution have all contributed to the conservation of the Great Barrier Reef. Additionally, public awareness campaigns and educational programs have played a crucial role in promoting responsible tourism and raising awareness about the importance of reef conservation. The protection of the Great Barrier Reef serves as a reminder of the importance of collective action and the need for sustainable management of fragile ecosystems. These conservation success stories demonstrate that with the right strategies, dedication, and collaboration, it is possible to make a significant impact in preserving and protecting wildlife and ecosystems. Whether through legislation, habitat restoration, reintroduction programs, protected areas, or community engagement, individuals and organizations can contribute to the success of conservation initiatives. By learning from these success stories and supporting conservation efforts, we can ensure a sustainable future for our planet and the incredible biodiversity it harbors. 2. Getting involved in conservation. 2.1 Volunteering for conservation organizations. Volunteering for conservation organizations is a meaningful and impactful way to support wildlife preservation and contribute to conservation initiatives. By dedicating your time and skills, you can actively participate in the protection and restoration of ecosystems, help conserve endangered species, and raise awareness about the importance of conservation. This section will guide you on how to get involved and make a difference through volunteering. Why volunteer for conservation organizations? Volunteering for conservation organizations offers numerous benefits, both for the environment and for yourself. Here are some compelling reasons to consider. Hands-on contribution. Volunteering allows you to actively engage in conservation efforts, providing direct assistance to organizations working on the ground. Whether it's planting trees, monitoring wildlife populations, or assisting in habitat restoration projects, your efforts can have a tangible impact. Learning opportunities. Volunteering provides a unique chance to learn about ecosystems, wildlife, and conservation practices. You can acquire valuable knowledge and skills from experienced professionals, gaining a deeper understanding of environmental issues and their solutions. Networking and collaboration. Volunteering connects you with like-minded individuals, conservation experts, and professionals in the field. This networking can lead to collaborations, mentorship opportunities, and even potential career paths in conservation. Personal growth. Volunteering in conservation can be a transformative experience. It allows you to connect with nature, develop a sense of purpose, and contribute to a cause greater than yourself. It can also enhance your problem-solving abilities, teamwork skills, and resilience. Raising awareness. By actively participating in conservation initiatives, you become an advocate for the environment. Your involvement can inspire others to take action, raising awareness about the importance of conservation and encouraging sustainable practices in their own lives. Finding volunteer opportunities. When searching for volunteer opportunities in conservation organizations, consider the following steps. Research. Start by researching local and international conservation organizations that align with your interests and values. Look for organizations that focus on the specific areas or species you are passionate about. Explore their websites, mission statements, and ongoing projects to gain a better understanding of their work. Contact organizations. Reach out to the organizations you are interested in volunteering for. Introduce yourself, express your enthusiasm, and inquire about available volunteer positions. Many organizations have dedicated volunteer coordinators who can guide you through the process and provide information about current opportunities. Consider your skills and interests. Assess your skills, interests, and availability to determine the type of volunteer work that suits you best. Conservation organizations require a diverse range of skills, including fieldwork, research, data analysis, education, fundraising, and communication. Identify your strengths and areas where you can contribute effectively. Duration and commitment. Determine the duration and level of commitment you can offer as a volunteer. Some organizations offer short-term volunteer opportunities, such as participating in specific projects or events, while others may require a more extended commitment. Consider your availability and choose an option that aligns with your schedule. Training and requirements. Inquire about any training or certifications required for specific volunteer roles. Some positions may require prior experience or specialized skills, while others may provide training on site. Be prepared to fulfill any necessary requirements before starting your volunteer work. Consider financial implications. While many volunteer positions are unpaid, some organizations may offer stipends or cover certain expenses, such as accommodation or meals. If you are considering volunteering abroad or in remote locations, carefully assess the financial implications and plan accordingly. Types of volunteer work. Conservation organizations offer a wide range of volunteer opportunities. Here are some common types of volunteer work you can engage in. Fieldwork and research. Participate in field surveys, data collection, and monitoring programs to gather crucial information about wildlife populations, habitats, and ecosystems. This work often involves hands-on activities such as tracking, bird banding, or conducting biodiversity assessments. Habitat restoration. Join habitat restoration projects, such as tree planting, invasive species removal, or wetland rehabilitation. These initiatives aim to restore degraded ecosystems, enhance biodiversity, and create healthier habitats for wildlife. Education and outreach. Assist in educational programs, workshops, or guided tours to raise awareness about conservation issues. You can engage with the public, schools, or local communities, sharing knowledge and inspiring others to take action for the environment. Wildlife rehabilitation. Volunteer at wildlife rehabilitation centers, helping care for injured or orphaned animals. This work involves feeding, cleaning enclosures, providing medical assistance under supervision, and preparing animals for release back into the wild. Advocacy and fundraising. Support conservation organizations by assisting in fundraising campaigns, grant writing, or advocacy efforts. You can help raise funds, organize events, or contribute to public awareness campaigns through social media or content creation. Remember, each organization may have specific volunteer opportunities available, so it's essential to communicate with them directly to understand the roles and responsibilities involved. Making the most of your volunteer experience. To maximize your impact as a volunteer and make the most of your experience, consider the following tips. Be reliable and committed. Treat your volunteer work with dedication and professionalism. Respect the organization's guidelines, show up on time, and fulfill your commitments. Your reliability will be appreciated and will contribute to the success of the conservation initiatives. Embrace learning opportunities. Be open to learning from experienced professionals and fellow volunteers. Ask questions, seek guidance, and actively engage in training sessions or workshops. The more you learn, the more valuable your contributions will be. Build relationships. Connect with other volunteers, staff members, and experts in the organization. Networking can lead to valuable connections, mentorship opportunities, and potential career paths in conservation. Document and share your experience. Keep a record of your volunteer work, including photos, videos, or journal entries. Sharing your experience with others can inspire them to get involved in conservation and raise awareness about the importance of preserving wildlife and ecosystems. Stay engaged. Even after your volunteer experience ends, continue to support conservation efforts. Stay connected with the organization, follow their updates, and consider becoming a long-term supporter or advocate for their cause. Volunteering for conservation organizations is a rewarding and impactful way to contribute to wildlife preservation. By dedicating your time, skills, and passion, you can actively participate in conservation initiatives, make a difference in the lives of endangered species, and help protect our planet's precious ecosystems. 2.2 Supporting conservation through donations. One of the most effective ways to support conservation initiatives is through donations. By contributing financially to conservation organizations and projects, you can help fund critical research, conservation efforts, and education programs that are essential for protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems. Donations play a crucial role in supporting the work of conservationists and can make a significant impact on the success of their efforts. Why donate? Donating to conservation initiatives is a powerful way to make a difference. Here are some reasons why donating is important. Funding conservation projects. Donations provide the necessary funds to carry out conservation projects, such as habitat restoration, wildlife rehabilitation, and anti-poaching efforts. These projects require financial resources to implement and sustain, and your donation can directly contribute to their success. Supporting research and monitoring. Conservation organizations conduct vital research and monitoring to understand the threats faced by wildlife and ecosystems. Donations help fund scientific studies, data collection, and monitoring programs, which are essential for developing effective conservation strategies. Protecting endangered species. Many species are on the brink of extinction due to habitat loss, poaching, and climate change. Donations can support initiatives focused on protecting and conserving endangered species, including breeding programs, habitat preservation, and anti-trafficking efforts. Promoting education and awareness. Conservation organizations play a crucial role in educating the public about the importance of wildlife preservation and sustainable practices. Donations can support educational programs, workshops, and awareness campaigns that help raise awareness and inspire action. Building capacity. Donations can help conservation organizations build their capacity by providing resources for training staff, acquiring equipment, and improving infrastructure. This enables them to carry out their work more effectively and efficiently. Choosing the right organization. When deciding where to donate, it's important to choose a reputable conservation organization that aligns with your values and goals. Here are some factors to consider. Mission and focus. Look for organizations that have a clear mission and focus on the specific areas of conservation that you are passionate about. Whether it's protecting endangered species, conserving habitats, or addressing climate change, find an organization that aligns with your interests. Transparency and accountability. Research the organization's financial transparency and accountability. Look for organizations that provide clear information about how donations are used and have a track record of responsible financial management. Impact and effectiveness. Assess the impact and effectiveness of the organization's work. Look for evidence of successful conservation projects, partnerships with local communities, and measurable outcomes. This information can often be found on the organization's website or through independent evaluations. Local and global reach. Consider whether you want to support local conservation efforts or contribute to global initiatives. Both approaches are important, and you can choose organizations that work at different scales based on your preferences. Partnerships and collaborations. Look for organizations that collaborate with other conservation groups, government agencies, and local communities. Partnerships can enhance the effectiveness of conservation efforts and ensure a holistic approach to conservation. Ways to donate. There are various ways to donate to conservation initiatives, depending on your preferences and financial capacity. Here are some common methods. One-time donations. You can make a one-time donation to a conservation organization of your choice. This can be done through their website, over the phone, or by mail. Many organizations provide secure online platforms for easy and convenient donations. Monthly or recurring donations. Consider setting up a monthly or recurring donation to provide ongoing support to your chosen organization. This helps them plan their projects and ensures a steady stream of funding. Donation drives and fundraising events. Keep an eye out for donation drives and fundraising events organized by conservation organizations. These events often raise funds for specific projects or campaigns and provide an opportunity to contribute to a cause while engaging with like-minded individuals. Legacy giving. Consider including a conservation organization in your will or estate planning. Legacy giving allows you to leave a lasting impact on conservation efforts and support the causes you care about even after you're gone. Matching gift programs. Check if your employer offers a matching gift program. Some companies match their employees' donations to eligible nonprofit organizations, effectively doubling the impact of your contribution. Remember, every donation, regardless of its size, can make a difference. By supporting conservation initiatives through donations, you are actively contributing to the protection of wildlife, preservation of ecosystems, and the sustainability of our planet. 2.3 Advocacy and Policy Influence. Advocacy and policy influence play a crucial role in supporting conservation initiatives. While volunteering and donating are important ways to contribute, advocating for change and influencing policies can have a broader and long-lasting impact on wildlife preservation. This section will explore the various ways individuals can engage in advocacy and policy influence to support conservation efforts. Understanding advocacy. Advocacy involves actively promoting and supporting a cause or issue. In the context of conservation, advocacy aims to raise awareness, influence public opinion, and drive policy changes that benefit wildlife and ecosystems. Advocacy can take many forms, from grassroots campaigns to lobbying efforts targeting policymakers and government officials. By advocating for conservation, individuals can amplify their impact and contribute to the larger movement for environmental protection. Building knowledge and expertise. Before engaging in advocacy, it is essential to build a strong foundation of knowledge and expertise in conservation issues. This includes understanding the current state of wildlife and ecosystems, the threats they face, and the existing policies and regulations in place. By staying informed through research, reading scientific literature, and following reputable conservation organizations, individuals can develop a comprehensive understanding of the issues at hand. This knowledge will serve as a basis for effective advocacy and policy influence. Joining conservation organizations. One of the most effective ways to engage in advocacy is by joining conservation organizations. These organizations often have dedicated advocacy teams and established networks that work towards influencing policies and promoting conservation initiatives. By becoming a member or volunteer, individuals can actively participate in advocacy campaigns, attend meetings and conferences, and contribute to the organization's efforts to influence policy decisions. Additionally, being part of a larger organization provides access to resources, expertise, and a platform to amplify one's voice. Engaging with local and national governments. Advocacy at the government level is crucial for driving policy changes that support conservation. Individuals can engage with local and national governments by writing letters or emails to elected officials, attending public hearings, and participating in consultations on environmental issues. By expressing concerns, sharing knowledge, and providing evidence-based recommendations, individuals can influence policymakers and shape conservation policies. It is important to be respectful, concise, and well-informed when communicating with government representatives to maximize the impact of advocacy efforts. Collaborating with other advocates. Collaboration with like-minded individuals and organizations can significantly enhance the effectiveness of advocacy and policy influence. By joining forces, advocates can pool resources, share knowledge, and amplify their collective voice. Collaborative efforts can include organizing events, hosting workshops, or creating joint campaigns to raise awareness and advocate for specific conservation issues. By working together, advocates can create a stronger and more unified front, increasing the likelihood of policy changes in favor of wildlife preservation. Utilizing social media and online platforms. In today's digital age, social media and online platforms provide powerful tools for advocacy and policy influence. Individuals can leverage these platforms to raise awareness, share information, and mobilize support for conservation initiatives. By creating engaging content, using relevant hashtags, and connecting with influential individuals and organizations, advocates can reach a wider audience and generate momentum for their cause. Additionally, online petitions and campaigns can be used to gather signatures and demonstrate public support for specific policy changes. Supporting conservation legislation and initiatives. Advocacy efforts can focus on supporting specific conservation legislation and initiatives. This involves actively promoting and advocating for the passage of laws and regulations that protect wildlife and their habitats. Individuals can write letters or make phone calls to their elected representatives, urging them to support or sponsor conservation bills. Additionally, advocates can participate in public consultations and hearings related to proposed conservation initiatives, providing input and evidence to strengthen their case. Engaging in lobbying. Lobbying involves directly influencing policymakers and government officials to support conservation initiatives. While lobbying is often associated with large organizations, individuals can also engage in lobbying efforts by meeting with elected representatives, attending legislative sessions, or participating in advocacy days organized by conservation organizations. By presenting well-researched arguments, sharing personal stories, and building relationships with policymakers, individuals can effectively advocate for policy changes that benefit wildlife preservation. Monitoring and evaluating policy impact. Advocacy efforts should not end with the implementation of policies. It is crucial to monitor and evaluate the impact of these policies on wildlife and ecosystems. By tracking the outcomes and assessing the effectiveness of policies, advocates can identify areas for improvement and make evidence-based recommendations for policy revisions. This ongoing monitoring and evaluation process ensures that policies are continuously refined and adapted to achieve the desired conservation outcomes. Conclusion. Advocacy and policy influence are powerful tools for supporting conservation initiatives. By building knowledge, joining conservation organizations, engaging with governments, collaborating with other advocates, utilizing social media, supporting legislation, engaging in lobbying, and monitoring policy impact, individuals can make a significant difference in wildlife preservation. Advocacy efforts can drive policy changes, raise public awareness, and contribute to the broader movement for environmental protection. By actively participating in advocacy, individuals can ensure a sustainable future for wildlife and ecosystems. 2.4 Promoting conservation in your community. Conservation is not just the responsibility of governments and organizations. Individuals can also play a crucial role in supporting and promoting conservation initiatives in their communities. By taking action at the local level, you can make a significant impact on the preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. This section will provide you with practical tips and ideas on how to promote conservation in your community. 1. Raise awareness. One of the most effective ways to promote conservation in your community is by raising awareness about the importance of protecting wildlife and ecosystems. Here are some ideas to get you started. Organize educational events. Host workshops, seminars, or webinars to educate your community about conservation issues. Invite local experts, scientists, or conservationists to speak and share their knowledge. Create informational materials. Develop brochures, posters, or flyers that highlight the importance of conservation and provide practical tips for individuals to get involved. Utilize social media. Use platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to share educational content, success stories, and conservation news. Encourage your friends and followers to share the information with their networks. Collaborate with local schools. Work with teachers and school administrators to incorporate conservation topics into the curriculum. Offer to give presentations or organize field trips to local conservation areas. Engage with local media. Write articles or press releases about conservation initiatives in your community and submit them to local newspapers, magazines, or radio stations. 2. Support local conservation organizations. There are likely several conservation organizations operating in your community or nearby areas. These organizations play a vital role in protecting wildlife and ecosystems. Here's how you can support them. Volunteer your time. Many conservation organizations rely on volunteers to carry out their work. Offer your skills and time to assist with research, habitat restoration, or educational programs. Attend fundraising events. Participate in fundraising events organized by local conservation organizations. These events not only provide financial support but also help raise awareness about their work. Donate or fundraise. If you are unable to volunteer, consider making a financial contribution to support the organization's activities. You can also organize fundraising events or campaigns to raise funds for specific conservation projects. Become a member. Join local conservation organizations as a member to stay updated on their work and support their ongoing efforts. 3. Create wildlife-friendly spaces. You can make a positive impact on local wildlife by creating wildlife-friendly spaces in your community. Here are some ideas. Plant native species. Native plants provide food and shelter for local wildlife. Replace non-native plants in your garden or encourage your community to plant native species in public spaces. Install bird feeders and birdhouses. Set up bird feeders and birdhouses in your backyard or community gardens to attract and support local bird populations. Create pollinator gardens. Plant flowers that attract bees, butterflies, and other pollinators. These gardens not only provide essential habitats but also contribute to the pollination of plants in your community. Preserve natural habitats. If there are natural habitats or green spaces in your community, advocate for their protection and preservation. Participate in local conservation efforts to maintain these areas. 4. Engage with local government. Local governments play a crucial role in shaping policies and regulations that impact conservation efforts. Here's how you can engage with your local government. Attend council meetings. Attend local council meetings and voice your support for conservation initiatives. Share your concerns and ideas with council members and encourage them to prioritize conservation in their decision-making. Join advisory committees. Many local governments have advisory committees focused on environmental issues. Apply to join these committees and provide input on conservation-related policies and projects. Advocate for green spaces. Encourage your local government to allocate resources for the creation and maintenance of green spaces, parks, and wildlife corridors in your community. Support sustainable practices. Advocate for sustainable practices in your community, such as recycling programs, renewable energy initiatives, and environmentally friendly transportation options. 5. Lead by example. One of the most powerful ways to promote conservation in your community is by leading by example. By adopting sustainable practices in your daily life, you can inspire others to do the same. Here are some actions you can take. Reduce your carbon footprint. Minimize your energy consumption, use public transportation or carpool, and choose eco-friendly products. Practice responsible waste management. Recycle, compost, and reduce your waste generation. Encourage your community to do the same by organizing recycling drives or composting workshops. Conserve water. Install water-saving devices, fix leaks promptly, and promote water conservation practices in your community. Support local and sustainable businesses. Choose locally sourced and organic products whenever possible. Support businesses that prioritize sustainable practices and conservation efforts. Remember, promoting conservation in your community is an ongoing effort that requires dedication and collaboration. By taking these actions, you can make a significant difference in protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems for future generations. 3. Conservation in protected areas. 3.1 National Parks and Wildlife Reserves. National parks and wildlife reserves play a crucial role in the conservation of biodiversity and the protection of natural habitats. These protected areas are established to safeguard ecosystems, preserve wildlife, and provide opportunities for scientific research, education, and recreation. As a supporter of wildlife preservation, there are several ways you can contribute to the conservation efforts in national parks and wildlife reserves. Visit and explore. One of the simplest ways to support conservation in national parks and wildlife reserves is by visiting and exploring these protected areas. By experiencing the beauty and wonder of these natural landscapes, you not only gain a deeper appreciation for the importance of conservation but also contribute to the local economy. Your entrance fees and purchases at visitor centers and gift shops help fund the maintenance and management of these protected areas. When visiting national parks and wildlife reserves, it is essential to follow the rules and regulations set by park authorities. Respect the wildlife and their habitats by observing from a safe distance and refraining from feeding or disturbing them. Stay on designated trails to minimize your impact on the environment and avoid damaging sensitive ecosystems. Volunteer and participate in citizen science. Many national parks and wildlife reserves offer volunteer programs that allow individuals to actively contribute to conservation efforts. These programs provide opportunities to engage in activities such as habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, and trail maintenance. By volunteering your time and skills, you directly contribute to the preservation and protection of these natural areas. Additionally, citizen science programs are becoming increasingly popular in national parks and wildlife reserves. These programs involve volunteers in scientific research and data collection, providing valuable information for conservation initiatives. By participating in citizen science projects, you can contribute to ongoing research and monitoring efforts, helping scientists and park authorities make informed decisions about conservation strategies. Support conservation organizations. There are numerous conservation organizations dedicated to protecting and preserving national parks and wildlife reserves. These organizations work tirelessly to advocate for conservation policies, conduct research, and implement conservation projects on the ground. By supporting these organizations through donations or memberships, you can contribute to their efforts in safeguarding these protected areas. Research and choose reputable conservation organizations that align with your values and have a proven track record of success. Consider donating to specific projects or campaigns that focus on the conservation of national parks and wildlife reserves. Your financial support can help fund critical initiatives such as habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, and community engagement programs. Spread awareness and educate others. Another effective way to support conservation in national parks and wildlife reserves is by spreading awareness and educating others about the importance of these protected areas. Use your voice and platforms to share information about the value of biodiversity, the threats facing wildlife and ecosystems, and the need for conservation action. You can start by sharing your experiences and photos from national parks and wildlife reserves on social media, accompanied by educational captions that highlight the significance of these areas. Engage in conversations with friends, family, and colleagues, and encourage them to visit these protected areas and support conservation initiatives. Advocate for stronger conservation policies. Advocacy plays a crucial role in shaping conservation policies and ensuring the long-term protection of national parks and wildlife reserves. Stay informed about current conservation issues and legislation that may impact these protected areas. Write letters or emails to your local representatives, expressing your support for stronger conservation policies and urging them to take action. Join or support advocacy groups that focus on conservation and environmental issues. These organizations often work to influence policy decisions and raise awareness about the importance of protecting natural areas. By adding your voice to these collective efforts, you can help drive positive change and ensure the continued preservation of national parks and wildlife reserves. In conclusion, supporting conservation in national parks and wildlife reserves involves a combination of personal actions and collective efforts. By visiting these protected areas, volunteering, supporting conservation organizations, spreading awareness, and advocating for stronger policies, you can make a significant impact in preserving these invaluable natural treasures for future generations. 3.2 Marine Protected Areas. Marine Protected Areas (MPAs) are designated areas in the ocean that are managed to protect and conserve marine ecosystems and biodiversity. These areas play a crucial role in safeguarding marine habitats, species, and the overall health of our oceans. As an individual, there are several ways you can support and contribute to the success of marine protected areas and their conservation initiatives. 1. Educate yourself and others. One of the first steps in supporting marine protected areas is to educate yourself about their importance and the threats they face. Learn about the specific marine ecosystems and species that are protected within these areas, as well as the regulations and guidelines in place for their management. By understanding the value of MPAs, you can effectively communicate their significance to others and raise awareness about the need for their conservation. 2. Follow regulations and guidelines. When visiting or engaging in activities near marine protected areas, it is essential to follow the regulations and guidelines set forth by the managing authorities. These regulations may include restrictions on fishing, boating, diving, and other recreational activities to minimize disturbances and protect the fragile marine ecosystems. By respecting these rules, you can help maintain the integrity of the protected areas and ensure their long-term sustainability. 3. Support conservation organizations. Many conservation organizations work tirelessly to establish and manage marine protected areas. By supporting these organizations through donations or volunteering, you can contribute directly to their efforts in protecting and conserving marine ecosystems. These organizations often conduct research, monitor the health of MPAs, and advocate for their expansion and improved management. Your support can make a significant difference in their ability to carry out these vital activities. 4. Participate in citizen science programs. Citizen science programs provide opportunities for individuals to contribute to scientific research and monitoring efforts in marine protected areas. These programs often involve collecting data on marine species, habitats, water quality, and other ecological parameters. By participating in these initiatives, you can help scientists and researchers gather valuable information that informs conservation strategies and management decisions. 5. Reduce your carbon footprint. Climate change poses a significant threat to marine ecosystems and the effectiveness of marine protected areas. By reducing your carbon footprint, you can help mitigate the impacts of climate change on the oceans. Simple actions like conserving energy, using public transportation, reducing waste, and supporting renewable energy sources can all contribute to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and preserving the health of marine ecosystems. 6. Choose sustainable seafood. Overfishing is a major concern for marine ecosystems worldwide. When purchasing seafood, choose sustainably sourced options that are harvested using methods that minimize harm to the environment and protect vulnerable species. Look for certifications such as the Marine Stewardship Council (MSC) or the Aquaculture Stewardship Council (ASC) to ensure that the seafood you consume comes from well-managed fisheries or responsible aquaculture operations. 7. Engage in responsible tourism. If you plan to visit coastal areas or engage in activities like snorkeling, diving, or boating near marine protected areas, opt for responsible tourism practices. Choose tour operators and accommodations that prioritize environmental sustainability and adhere to guidelines for minimizing impacts on marine ecosystems. Respect marine life and their habitats by not touching or disturbing them, and never remove any marine organisms or artifacts from protected areas. 8. Advocate for stronger protection. Advocacy plays a crucial role in the establishment and management of marine protected areas. Stay informed about proposed marine conservation initiatives and advocate for their implementation and enforcement. Write letters or emails to policymakers, attend public meetings, and support campaigns that aim to strengthen the protection of marine ecosystems. By raising your voice, you can help ensure that marine protected areas receive the necessary support and resources they need to thrive. 9. Support sustainable fishing practices. Supporting sustainable fishing practices is essential for the long-term health of marine ecosystems. Choose seafood that is caught using methods that minimize bycatch, habitat destruction, and overfishing. Additionally, support local fishermen and communities who employ sustainable fishing practices and contribute to the conservation of marine resources. By making informed choices, you can help promote sustainable fishing and contribute to the overall health of marine protected areas. 10. Stay informed and spread awareness. Lastly, staying informed about the latest developments and challenges facing marine protected areas is crucial. Follow reputable news sources, scientific publications, and conservation organizations to stay updated on the status of MPAs and the issues they face. Share this information with your friends, family, and social networks to raise awareness about the importance of marine conservation and the need for continued support for marine protected areas. By taking these actions, you can actively contribute to the success of marine protected areas and support the conservation of our precious marine ecosystems. Remember, even small individual efforts can make a significant impact when combined with the collective actions of others. Together, we can ensure the long-term health and sustainability of our oceans and the diverse life they support. 3.3 Conservation in forests and wilderness areas. Forests and wilderness areas are vital habitats for a wide range of plant and animal species. These ecosystems provide essential services such as carbon sequestration, water regulation, and soil conservation. However, they are under constant threat from deforestation, illegal logging, and habitat fragmentation. To support conservation efforts in forests and wilderness areas, individuals can take various actions to protect and restore these valuable ecosystems. 1. Educate yourself. Before taking any action, it is crucial to educate yourself about the importance of forests and wilderness areas and the threats they face. Understand the ecological significance of these habitats and the role they play in maintaining biodiversity and mitigating climate change. Learn about the specific challenges faced by forests and wilderness areas in your region and globally. By gaining knowledge, you will be better equipped to make informed decisions and advocate for effective conservation strategies. 2. Support conservation organizations. One of the most effective ways to support conservation in forests and wilderness areas is by donating to reputable conservation organizations. These organizations work tirelessly to protect and restore these habitats, conduct research, and advocate for policy changes. Your financial support can contribute to their efforts in acquiring and managing protected areas, implementing sustainable land use practices, and conducting scientific studies. Look for organizations that have a proven track record of success and align with your conservation values. 3. Volunteer for conservation projects. Many conservation organizations and government agencies offer volunteer opportunities in forests and wilderness areas. These projects can involve activities such as habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, trail maintenance, and environmental education. By volunteering your time and skills, you can directly contribute to the conservation of these ecosystems. Additionally, volunteering provides a hands-on learning experience and allows you to connect with like-minded individuals who share your passion for conservation. 4. Support sustainable forestry practices. Supporting sustainable forestry practices is crucial for the conservation of forests and wilderness areas. Look for products that are certified by reputable organizations such as the Forest Stewardship Council (FSC). These certifications ensure that the timber and other forest products are sourced from responsibly managed forests. By choosing sustainable wood products, you can help reduce the demand for illegal and unsustainable logging practices that contribute to deforestation. 5. Reduce your ecological footprint. Reducing your ecological footprint is an essential step in supporting conservation efforts in forests and wilderness areas. Make conscious choices to minimize your impact on the environment. Reduce your consumption of paper products, as paper production often leads to deforestation. Opt for digital alternatives whenever possible, such as ebooks instead of printed books. Conserve energy and water, recycle, and choose sustainable and locally sourced products. By adopting a sustainable lifestyle, you contribute to the preservation of forests and wilderness areas. 6. Advocate for policy changes. Advocacy plays a crucial role in influencing policy decisions that impact forests and wilderness areas. Stay informed about local and national policies related to land use, logging, and conservation. Write letters or emails to your elected representatives expressing your concerns and urging them to support legislation that protects these habitats. Join or support advocacy groups that work towards conservation policy changes. By raising your voice, you can help shape policies that prioritize the conservation of forests and wilderness areas. 7. Engage in reforestation efforts. Reforestation is a vital strategy for restoring degraded forests and wilderness areas. Get involved in reforestation projects by participating in tree planting initiatives organized by conservation organizations or local communities. These efforts help to restore habitat for wildlife, improve soil quality, and sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. By actively participating in reforestation, you contribute to the long-term conservation of forests and wilderness areas. 8. Promote ecotourism. Ecotourism can be a powerful tool for supporting conservation in forests and wilderness areas. When planning your vacations, choose destinations that prioritize sustainable tourism practices and support local communities. Visit protected areas and national parks that have established ecotourism programs. These programs often generate revenue that is reinvested in conservation efforts in local communities. By promoting and participating in responsible ecotourism, you contribute to the economic value of these habitats, making them more valuable for conservation. 9. Spread awareness. Raise awareness about the importance of forests and wilderness areas and the need for their conservation. Use your voice in platforms such as social media, blogs, or community events to share information about the threats faced by these ecosystems and the actions individuals can take to support conservation. Encourage others to join you in supporting conservation initiatives and inspire them to make a positive impact on forests and wilderness areas. By taking these actions, you can actively contribute to the conservation of forests and wilderness areas. Remember that every individual effort counts, and together, we can make a significant difference in protecting these invaluable ecosystems for future generations. 3.4 Managing protected areas for conservation. Protected areas play a crucial role in conserving biodiversity and preserving natural habitats. However, simply designating an area as protected is not enough. Effective management is essential to ensure the long-term success of these protected areas. This section will explore the key principles and strategies involved in managing protected areas for conservation. Understanding the importance of management. Managing protected areas involves a range of activities aimed at preserving the ecological integrity of the area while also providing opportunities for sustainable use and enjoyment by visitors. Effective management ensures that the biodiversity and ecosystems within the protected area are protected from threats such as habitat loss, invasive species, and illegal activities. Key principles of protected area management. Clear objectives. Every protected area should have clearly defined objectives that guide its management. These objectives may include conserving specific species or habitats, providing recreational opportunities, or supporting scientific research. Collaborative approach. Successful management of protected areas often requires collaboration between various stakeholders, including government agencies, local communities, NGOs, and scientists. Engaging these stakeholders in decision-making processes can lead to more effective and sustainable management outcomes. Adaptive management. Protected area management should be flexible and adaptive, allowing for adjustments based on new information and changing circumstances. Regular monitoring and evaluation of management strategies are essential to ensure their effectiveness and make necessary improvements. Sustainable use. Many protected areas allow for sustainable use of natural resources, such as fishing or controlled hunting. However, this must be carefully managed to ensure it does not compromise the overall conservation goals of the area. Education and awareness. Effective management includes educating visitors and local communities about the importance of conservation and the role they can play in protecting the area. This can help foster a sense of stewardship and encourage responsible behavior. Strategies for managing protected areas. Habitat restoration. Restoring degraded habitats within protected areas is a crucial management strategy. This may involve removing invasive species, replanting native vegetation, or creating artificial habitats to support endangered species. Enforcement and monitoring. Effective law enforcement is essential to prevent illegal activities such as poaching, logging, or habitat destruction. Regular monitoring of the protected area's biodiversity and ecosystems helps identify any threats or changes that require attention. Visitor management. Managing visitor activities is crucial to minimize the impact on the protected area's ecosystems. This may involve setting visitor limits, establishing designated trails, and providing education on responsible behavior. Invasive species control. Invasive species can have a devastating impact on native biodiversity. Implementing strategies to control and eradicate invasive species within protected areas is vital for maintaining the ecological balance. Collaboration with local communities. Engaging local communities in the management of protected areas can lead to more effective conservation outcomes. This may involve providing alternative livelihood options, supporting sustainable resource use, and involving local communities in decision-making processes. Research and monitoring. Regular scientific research and monitoring are essential for understanding the ecological dynamics of protected areas. This information helps inform management decisions and ensures that conservation efforts are based on sound scientific knowledge. Partnerships and funding. Collaborating with NGOs, businesses, and other organizations can provide additional resources and expertise for managing protected areas. Seeking funding through grants, donations, or ecotourism can also support conservation initiatives. Challenges in managing protected areas. Managing protected areas is not without its challenges. Some of the common challenges include limited resources. Many protected areas face resource constraints, including funding, staff, and equipment. Limited resources can hinder effective management and conservation efforts. Conflicting interests. Balancing conservation objectives with the needs and interests of local communities, tourism, and other stakeholders can be challenging. Finding common ground and ensuring equitable benefits is crucial. Climate change. Climate change poses significant challenges to protected area management. Rising temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, and increased frequency of extreme weather events can impact ecosystems and species within protected areas. Illegal activities. Poaching, illegal logging, and other illegal activities pose a constant threat to protected areas. Effective law enforcement and community engagement are essential to combat these activities. Conclusion. Managing protected areas for conservation requires a comprehensive and adaptive approach. By implementing clear objectives, engaging stakeholders, and employing effective strategies, protected areas can be effectively managed to preserve biodiversity and provide sustainable benefits for both nature and people. Overcoming challenges and ensuring the long-term success of protected areas requires ongoing commitment, collaboration, and innovation. 3.5 Conservation challenges in protected areas. Protected areas play a crucial role in conserving biodiversity and preserving natural habitats. However, they also face numerous challenges that can hinder their effectiveness in achieving conservation goals. In this section, we will explore some of the key challenges faced by protected areas and discuss potential solutions to address them. 3.5.1 Habitat fragmentation. One of the major challenges faced by protected areas is habitat fragmentation. This occurs when large, continuous habitats are divided into smaller, isolated patches due to human activities such as agriculture, urbanization, and infrastructure development. Fragmentation can have detrimental effects on wildlife populations by reducing their access to resources, limiting their movement, and increasing their vulnerability to predation and other threats. To address habitat fragmentation, protected areas need to focus on habitat connectivity. This involves creating corridors or linkages between fragmented habitats to allow for the movement of wildlife. These corridors can be natural features such as rivers or man-made structures like wildlife bridges and underpasses. By enhancing habitat connectivity, protected areas can promote gene flow, facilitate species migration, and increase the resilience of ecosystems. 3.5.2 Invasive species. Invasive species pose a significant threat to protected areas worldwide. These non-native species can outcompete native species for resources, disrupt ecological processes, and alter entire ecosystems. Invasive plants, animals, and pathogens can spread rapidly and have devastating impacts on biodiversity. To combat invasive species, protected areas need to implement effective monitoring and management strategies. This includes early detection and rapid response programs to identify and control invasive species before they become established. Additionally, public education and awareness campaigns can help prevent the introduction and spread of invasive species by promoting responsible behavior among visitors and local communities. 3.5.3 Poaching and illegal wildlife trade. Poaching and illegal wildlife trade continue to be major challenges for protected areas, particularly in regions with high biodiversity and valuable wildlife species. The demand for wildlife products, such as ivory, rhino horn, and exotic pets, drives the illegal trade, leading to the depletion of populations and the disruption of ecosystems. To address poaching and illegal wildlife trade, protected areas need to strengthen law enforcement efforts. This includes increasing patrols, improving surveillance technologies, and enhancing collaboration with local communities and law enforcement agencies. Additionally, raising awareness about the negative impacts of wildlife trade and promoting sustainable alternatives can help reduce the demand for illegal wildlife products. 3.5.4 Climate change. Climate change poses a significant threat to protected areas and the species they harbor. Rising temperatures, changing precipitation patterns, and extreme weather events can disrupt ecosystems, alter species distributions, and increase the vulnerability of wildlife to disease and other stressors. To mitigate the impacts of climate change, protected areas need to prioritize climate adaptation strategies. This includes identifying and protecting climate refugia, areas that are expected to remain relatively stable under future climate conditions. Implementing habitat restoration and conservation practices that enhance ecosystem resilience can also help species adapt to changing environmental conditions. 3.5.5 Human-wildlife conflict. Human-wildlife conflict is a persistent challenge in many protected areas, especially those located near human settlements. As human populations expand and encroach upon wildlife habitats, conflicts arise due to competition for resources, crop damage, and livestock predation. These conflicts can lead to negative attitudes towards wildlife and undermine conservation efforts. To address human-wildlife conflict, protected areas need to implement strategies that promote coexistence between humans and wildlife. This includes the development of effective livestock management practices, the establishment of buffer zones, and the implementation of community-based conservation initiatives. Engaging local communities in conservation decision-making processes and providing them with alternative livelihood options can also help reduce conflicts and foster support for protected areas. 3.5.6 Lack of funding and resources. Protected areas often face challenges related to insufficient funding and resources. Limited financial support can hinder the implementation of conservation programs, infrastructure development, and effective management practices. This can result in inadequate protection and monitoring of biodiversity within protected areas. To address the issue of funding and resources, protected areas need to explore diverse funding mechanisms. This includes seeking support from government agencies, international organizations, private donors, and engaging in public-private partnerships. Additionally, raising public awareness about the importance of protected areas and their role in biodiversity conservation can help generate public support and increase funding opportunities. In conclusion, protected areas face various challenges that can impact their ability to effectively conserve biodiversity. By addressing issues such as habitat fragmentation, invasive species, poaching, climate change, human-wildlife conflict, and lack of funding, protected areas can enhance their conservation efforts and contribute to the long-term preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. It is crucial for stakeholders, including governments, conservation organizations, local communities, and individuals, to work together to overcome these challenges and ensure the sustainable management of protected areas. 3.6 Sustainable tourism and conservation. Sustainable tourism is a powerful tool for supporting conservation initiatives around the world. By promoting responsible travel practices, sustainable tourism can help protect natural areas, preserve wildlife habitats, and contribute to the overall well-being of local communities. This section will explore the concept of sustainable tourism and provide practical tips on how individuals can support conservation through their travel choices. Understanding sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism, also known as ecotourism or responsible tourism, is a form of travel that aims to minimize negative impacts on the environment, culture, and economy of a destination. It focuses on preserving natural resources, supporting local communities, and promoting cultural heritage. Sustainable tourism seeks to strike a balance between the needs of tourists and the conservation of natural and cultural assets. Benefits of sustainable tourism for conservation. Sustainable tourism can have numerous positive impacts on conservation efforts. Here are some key benefits. Preservation of natural areas. By promoting sustainable tourism practices, natural areas can be protected from overdevelopment, habitat destruction, and pollution. This helps to maintain biodiversity and preserve fragile ecosystems. Support for local communities. Sustainable tourism encourages the involvement of local communities in tourism activities, providing them with economic opportunities and incentives to protect their natural and cultural heritage. This can lead to the development of sustainable livelihoods and the empowerment of local people. Education and awareness. Sustainable tourism provides opportunities for visitors to learn about conservation issues, local cultures, and environmental challenges. This increased awareness can lead to a greater appreciation for the importance of conservation and inspire individuals to take action. Funding for conservation initiatives. Revenue generated from sustainable tourism can be used to fund conservation projects, such as habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, and community-based conservation programs. This financial support is crucial for the long-term sustainability of conservation efforts. Tips for supporting conservation through sustainable tourism. Here are some practical tips for individuals who want to support conservation through their travel choices. Choose responsible tour operators. When planning your trip, research and select tour operators that have a strong commitment to sustainable tourism practices. Look for certifications or memberships in organizations that promote responsible travel, such as the Global Sustainable Tourism Council (GSTC) or the International Ecotourism Society (TIES). Respect local cultures and traditions. Learn about the local customs, traditions, and etiquette of the destination you are visiting. Respect cultural norms, dress appropriately, and engage with local communities in a respectful and responsible manner. Minimize environmental impact. Practice leave no trace principles by minimizing your environmental footprint. Dispose of waste properly, conserve water and energy, and avoid activities that harm wildlife or damage natural habitats. Choose eco-friendly transportation options whenever possible, such as walking, cycling, or using public transportation. Support local businesses. Opt for locally owned accommodations, restaurants, and shops that contribute to the local economy. This helps to ensure that the benefits of tourism are distributed more equitably among the community and encourages the preservation of local traditions and craftsmanship. Participate in conservation activities. Look for opportunities to engage in conservation activities during your trip. This could include volunteering for local conservation organizations, participating in wildlife monitoring programs, or joining guided tours that focus on environmental education and conservation efforts. Spread the word, share your experiences and knowledge about sustainable tourism and conservation with others. Use social media, travel blogs, or personal conversations to raise awareness and inspire others to make responsible travel choices. Support conservation projects. Consider making a donation to local conservation organizations or initiatives that are working to protect the natural and cultural heritage of the destination you visited. This financial support can contribute to the long-term sustainability of conservation efforts. Remember, every small action counts. By adopting sustainable tourism practices and supporting conservation initiatives, you can make a positive difference in protecting our planet's precious natural resources and biodiversity. Conclusion. Sustainable tourism provides a unique opportunity for individuals to support conservation efforts while enjoying the beauty and diversity of our natural world. By choosing responsible travel practices, respecting local cultures, minimizing environmental impact, and supporting local communities, travelers can contribute to the long-term sustainability of conservation initiatives. Through sustainable tourism, we can create a positive impact on the environment, wildlife, and local communities, ensuring that future generations can also experience and appreciate the wonders of our planet. 4. Conservation through habitat restoration. 4.1 Understanding habitat loss and degradation. Habitat loss and degradation are major threats to wildlife and ecosystems around the world. As human activities continue to expand, natural habitats are being destroyed or altered at an alarming rate. Understanding the causes and consequences of habitat loss and degradation is crucial for effective conservation efforts. In this section, we will explore the various factors contributing to habitat loss and degradation and discuss the importance of addressing these issues. Causes of habitat loss and degradation. Habitat loss and degradation can be attributed to a range of human activities, including urbanization, agriculture, deforestation, mining, and infrastructure development. As human populations grow and economies expand, the demand for land and resources increases, leading to the conversion of natural habitats into human-dominated landscapes. Urbanization is one of the primary drivers of habitat loss. As cities expand, they encroach upon surrounding natural areas, fragmenting habitats and displacing wildlife. The construction of roads, buildings, and other infrastructure further contributes to habitat degradation by altering the natural landscape and disrupting ecological processes. Agriculture, particularly intensive farming practices, also plays a significant role in habitat loss and degradation. Large-scale monoculture crops and livestock production require vast amounts of land, leading to the conversion of forests, grasslands, and wetlands into agricultural fields. The use of pesticides and fertilizers in agriculture can also have detrimental effects on the surrounding ecosystems, polluting water bodies and harming wildlife. Deforestation is another major cause of habitat loss, especially in tropical regions. Forests are cleared for timber extraction, agriculture, and the expansion of human settlements. This not only destroys the habitat of countless plant and animal species but also contributes to climate change by releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Mining activities, including the extraction of minerals, oil, and gas, can have severe impacts on habitats. Mining operations often involve the removal of large amounts of soil and vegetation, leading to the destruction of ecosystems. The pollution of water bodies with toxic chemicals used in mining further exacerbates the degradation of habitats and threatens aquatic biodiversity. Consequences of habitat loss and degradation. The loss and degradation of habitats have far-reaching consequences for both wildlife and ecosystems. When habitats are destroyed or fragmented, many species are unable to find suitable places to live, feed, and reproduce. This can result in population declines and, in some cases, even extinction. The loss of biodiversity not only diminishes the beauty and richness of our natural world but also disrupts the functioning of ecosystems and the services they provide. Habitat loss and degradation also have indirect effects on human well-being. Ecosystems play a crucial role in providing essential services such as clean air and water, pollination, and climate regulation. When habitats are degraded, these services are compromised, posing risks to human health and livelihoods. Additionally, the loss of natural habitats can lead to increased human-wildlife conflicts as animals are forced to seek food and shelter in human-dominated areas. Addressing habitat loss and degradation. Addressing habitat loss and degradation requires a multifaceted approach that involves individuals, communities, governments, and conservation organizations. Here are some key strategies and actions that can help support conservation initiatives aimed at protecting and restoring habitats. Promote sustainable land use practices. Encouraging sustainable agriculture, responsible urban planning, and land use zoning can help minimize habitat loss and fragmentation. Supporting initiatives that promote agroforestry, organic farming, and sustainable forestry practices can also contribute to habitat conservation. Protect and restore critical habitats. Identifying and designating protected areas, such as national parks and wildlife reserves, is crucial for safeguarding important habitats. Efforts should be made to expand existing protected areas and establish new ones in areas of high biodiversity value. Restoration projects, such as reforestation and wetland rehabilitation, can also help restore degraded habitats. Support conservation organizations. Donating to and volunteering with conservation organizations can provide crucial support for their efforts to protect and restore habitats. These organizations work on the ground to implement conservation projects, conduct research, and advocate for policy changes. Advocate for policy changes. Engaging in advocacy and lobbying activities can help influence government policies and regulations related to habitat conservation. Supporting initiatives that promote sustainable development, habitat protection, and wildlife conservation can have a significant impact at the local, national, and international levels. Promote sustainable consumption. Making conscious choices as consumers can contribute to reducing habitat loss and degradation. Supporting sustainable and certified products, reducing waste, and adopting environmentally friendly practices can help minimize the demand for resources that drive habitat destruction. Raise awareness and educate. Spreading awareness about the importance of habitat conservation and the consequences of habitat loss and degradation is crucial for garnering public support. Education programs, community outreach, and public campaigns can help raise awareness and inspire individuals to take action. By understanding the causes and consequences of habitat loss and degradation, we can work towards implementing effective conservation strategies. Protecting and restoring habitats is essential for preserving biodiversity, ensuring the well-being of ecosystems, and securing a sustainable future for both wildlife and humans. 4.2 Restoring forests and woodlands. Restoring forests and woodlands is a crucial aspect of conservation efforts worldwide. Forests and woodlands are vital ecosystems that provide habitat for numerous plant and animal species, regulate climate, purify air and water, and offer various resources for human communities. However, due to deforestation, urbanization, and unsustainable land use practices, many forests and woodlands have been degraded or completely destroyed. To support conservation initiatives focused on restoring these ecosystems, individuals and communities can take several actions. Understanding the importance of forest and woodland restoration. Before delving into the ways to support restoration initiatives, it is essential to understand the significance of restoring forests and woodlands. These ecosystems play a critical role in biodiversity conservation, as they provide a home for countless species, including endangered and threatened ones. By restoring forests and woodlands, we can help create suitable habitats for these species to thrive and prevent their extinction. Furthermore, forests and woodlands act as carbon sinks, absorbing and storing significant amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This helps mitigate climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and regulating global temperatures. Restoring these ecosystems can contribute to carbon sequestration, helping combat climate change and its adverse effects. Restored forests and woodlands also provide numerous ecosystem services, such as water regulation, soil conservation, and the provision of timber and non-timber forest products. These services are essential for the well-being of both nature and human communities, making the restoration of these ecosystems a vital conservation endeavor. Supporting forest and woodland restoration initiatives. Volunteer for restoration projects. Many conservation organizations and local community groups organize volunteer programs focused on forest and woodland restoration. By participating in these initiatives, individuals can contribute their time and effort to planting trees, removing invasive species, and restoring degraded areas. Volunteering provides hands-on experience and a direct impact on the restoration process. Donate to restoration organizations. Financial support is crucial for the success of restoration initiatives. Donating to reputable conservation organizations that specialize in forest and woodland restoration can help fund tree planting, habitat restoration, and community engagement programs. These organizations often work closely with local communities to ensure the long-term success and sustainability of restoration projects. Advocate for forest and woodland conservation. Raise awareness about the importance of forest and woodland restoration by advocating for conservation policies and practices. Engage with local and national governments, urging them to prioritize forest restoration and implement sustainable land use policies. By voicing your concerns and supporting conservation initiatives, you can help create a favorable environment for restoration efforts. Support sustainable forestry practices. Encourage the use of sustainable forestry practices that promote the responsible management of forests and woodlands. This includes supporting certification programs such as the Forest Stewardship Council (FSC), which ensures that timber and forest products come from sustainably managed sources. By choosing products with FSC certification, you can contribute to the demand for sustainable forestry practices. Participate in reforestation campaigns. Many organizations and governments run reforestation campaigns that aim to restore large areas of forests and woodlands. Participate in these campaigns by donating or sponsoring tree planting initiatives. Some campaigns even allow individuals to physically plant trees themselves, providing a hands-on experience and a direct connection to the restoration process. Promote agroforestry and rewilding. Encourage the adoption of agroforestry practices, which integrate trees into agricultural landscapes, providing multiple benefits such as soil conservation, biodiversity enhancement, and sustainable crop production. Additionally, support rewilding initiatives that aim to restore large-scale ecosystems by reintroducing native species and allowing natural processes to occur. Educate yourself and others. Learn about the importance of forests and woodlands, the threats they face, and the restoration techniques employed. Educate yourself and others about the benefits of restoration and the actions individuals can take to support these initiatives. By spreading knowledge and awareness, you can inspire others to join the cause and make a difference. Remember, restoring forests and woodlands is a long-term commitment that requires collaboration between individuals, communities, governments, and conservation organizations. By supporting restoration initiatives, you can contribute to the conservation of biodiversity, mitigate climate change, and ensure the sustainable use of natural resources for future generations. 4.3 Wetland restoration for biodiversity. Wetlands are among the most productive and diverse ecosystems on Earth, providing essential services such as water filtration, flood control, and habitat for a wide range of plant and animal species. However, wetlands are also one of the most threatened ecosystems, with over 50% of them lost or degraded worldwide. Wetland restoration plays a crucial role in conserving biodiversity and ensuring the continued functioning of these valuable ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the importance of wetland restoration and discuss various strategies and techniques for restoring wetlands to support biodiversity conservation. Importance of wetland restoration. Wetlands are home to a remarkable array of species, including birds, fish, amphibians, reptiles, and countless invertebrates. They serve as breeding grounds, nurseries, and stopover sites for migratory birds, providing critical habitat for their survival. Wetlands also support a diverse range of plant species, many of which are specially adapted to thrive in wet conditions. Additionally, wetlands act as natural filters, purifying water by trapping sediments and removing pollutants, thus improving water quality. However, due to human activities such as drainage for agriculture, urban development, and pollution, wetlands have been significantly degraded and lost. This loss of wetland habitat has had devastating consequences for biodiversity, with many species facing population declines and even extinction. Wetland restoration aims to reverse these trends by recreating or enhancing wetland ecosystems, allowing them to regain their ecological functions and support a diverse range of species. Strategies for wetland restoration. Re-establishing hydrology. One of the primary goals of wetland restoration is to restore natural hydrological processes. This involves recreating or enhancing the water flow patterns within the wetland, including the restoration of natural water levels, water flow rates, and seasonal flooding. Restoring hydrology is crucial for maintaining the unique wetland conditions that support diverse plant and animal communities. Controlling invasive species. Invasive species can have a detrimental impact on wetland ecosystems by outcompeting native species and altering the natural balance of the ecosystem. Wetland restoration efforts often involve the removal or control of invasive species to allow native species to thrive. This may include manual removal, herbicide application, or the introduction of native species that can outcompete invasives. Revegetation and habitat creation. Restoring wetland vegetation is essential for providing habitat and food sources for a wide range of species. Wetland restoration projects often involve planting native wetland plants, such as cattails, sedges, and rushes, to recreate the diverse plant communities that support a variety of wildlife. Creating different habitat zones within the wetland, such as open water, emergent vegetation, and submerged vegetation, can further enhance biodiversity. Restoring wetland connectivity. Wetlands are often interconnected with other ecosystems, such as rivers, lakes, and coastal areas. Restoring wetland connectivity involves reconnecting fragmented wetland habitats to allow for the movement of species and the exchange of nutrients and genetic material. This can be achieved through the removal of barriers, such as dams or culverts, and the creation of wildlife corridors. Monitoring and adaptive management. Monitoring the success of wetland restoration projects is crucial for evaluating their effectiveness and making necessary adjustments. Regular monitoring allows for the assessment of biodiversity changes, water quality improvements, and the overall health of the wetland ecosystem. Adaptive management involves using the information gathered from monitoring to modify restoration strategies and improve outcomes over time. Wetland restoration techniques. Wetland creation. In cases where wetlands have been completely lost or severely degraded, wetland creation may be necessary. This involves constructing new wetland habitats in suitable locations using techniques such as excavation, grading, and planting of wetland vegetation. Wetland creation can be particularly effective in areas where natural wetland regeneration is unlikely or where there is a need to compensate for wetland loss due to development. Wetland enhancement. Wetland enhancement focuses on improving the ecological functions of existing wetlands that have been degraded. This may involve removing sediment or pollutants, re-establishing natural water flow patterns, and enhancing vegetation diversity. Wetland enhancement can help restore the ecological integrity of degraded wetlands and increase their capacity to support biodiversity. Wetland protection. Protecting existing wetlands from further degradation is an essential aspect of wetland restoration. This can be achieved through the establishment of protected areas, such as national parks or wildlife reserves, where wetlands are conserved and managed for their ecological value. Wetland protection also involves implementing regulations and policies to prevent activities that could harm wetland ecosystems. Collaboration and community engagement. Successful wetland restoration often requires collaboration between various stakeholders, including government agencies, conservation organizations, local communities, and landowners. Engaging local communities in wetland restoration projects can foster a sense of ownership and stewardship, ensuring the long-term sustainability of restoration efforts. Wetland restoration is a critical component of biodiversity conservation, as it helps to reverse the loss and degradation of these vital ecosystems. By implementing strategies such as re-establishing hydrology, controlling invasive species, revegetation, restoring wetland connectivity, and monitoring the success of restoration projects, we can contribute to the preservation of wetland biodiversity and the ecological services they provide. Through collective efforts and a commitment to wetland restoration, we can ensure the continued existence of these invaluable habitats for future generations. 4.4 Reintroducing native species. Reintroducing native species is a crucial aspect of habitat restoration and conservation efforts. Many species around the world have faced significant declines in their populations due to habitat loss, pollution, climate change, and other human-induced factors. Reintroduction programs aim to restore these species to their former habitats, helping to rebuild ecosystems and promote biodiversity. In this section, we will explore the importance of reintroducing native species and discuss the key considerations and steps involved in successful reintroduction programs. The importance of reintroducing native species. Reintroducing native species is essential for several reasons. Firstly, it helps to restore the balance and functionality of ecosystems. Native species play unique roles in their respective habitats, such as pollination, seed dispersal, and controlling pest populations. By reintroducing these species, we can reinstate these ecological processes and promote the overall health and resilience of the ecosystem. Secondly, reintroducing native species contributes to the conservation of biodiversity. Each species has its own set of genetic traits and adaptations that have evolved over time. Losing a species from an ecosystem can disrupt the intricate web of interactions and lead to a loss of biodiversity. Reintroduction programs help to prevent the extinction of species and preserve the genetic diversity within ecosystems. Furthermore, reintroducing native species can have positive cascading effects on other species within the ecosystem. For example, the reintroduction of a predator species can help control the population of prey species, leading to a more balanced ecosystem. These interactions are crucial for maintaining the overall health and stability of ecosystems. Considerations for reintroduction programs. Before initiating a reintroduction program, several considerations need to be taken into account to ensure its success. 1. Species selection. Choosing the appropriate species for reintroduction is crucial. Factors such as the species' ecological role, habitat requirements, and population status should be considered. It is essential to select species that have a high chance of survival and successful reproduction in the target habitat. 2. Habitat suitability. Assessing the suitability of the habitat is vital for the success of reintroduction programs. The habitat should provide the necessary resources, such as food, water, shelter, and suitable breeding sites, for the reintroduced species. Conducting thorough habitat assessments and restoration activities, if needed, can enhance the chances of successful reintroduction. 3. Genetic considerations. Maintaining genetic diversity is crucial for the long-term viability of reintroduced populations. Genetic assessments should be conducted to ensure that the reintroduced individuals have sufficient genetic variation. In some cases, captive breeding programs may be necessary to increase genetic diversity before reintroduction. 4. Predation and competition. Assessing potential predation and competition pressures is essential. Reintroduced species may face challenges from predators or invasive species that were not present when they originally inhabited the area. Implementing appropriate management strategies, such as predator control or habitat modifications, can help mitigate these challenges. 5. Monitoring and adaptive management. Monitoring the reintroduced populations is crucial to assess their progress and make necessary adjustments. Regular monitoring allows conservationists to evaluate the success of the program, identify potential threats, and implement adaptive management strategies to ensure the long-term survival and reproduction of the reintroduced species. Steps in reintroduction programs. Successful reintroduction programs typically involve the following steps. 1. Pre-release preparation. This step involves conducting thorough research on the species, including its biology, behavior, and habitat requirements. It also includes identifying suitable release sites and preparing the habitat to ensure its suitability for the reintroduced species. 2. Captive breeding and/or translocation. If the population of the target species is critically low, captive breeding programs may be necessary to increase the number of individuals available for reintroduction. In some cases, individuals from other populations may be translocated to supplement the genetic diversity of the reintroduced population. 3. Soft release. Soft release involves acclimating the reintroduced individuals to their new environment before fully releasing them. This process allows the individuals to adjust to their surroundings, find suitable resources, and establish territories, increasing their chances of survival. 4. Post-release monitoring and management. After the release, continuous monitoring is essential to assess the survival, reproduction, and behavior of the reintroduced individuals. This information helps conservationists make informed management decisions and implement necessary interventions to support the population's long-term success. 5. Public education and awareness. Engaging the public in reintroduction programs is crucial for their success. Educating communities about the importance of reintroducing native species and the role they play in ecosystem health can foster support and encourage responsible behavior towards these species and their habitats. Reintroducing native species is a complex and challenging endeavor, but it is a vital tool in conservation efforts. By restoring species to their native habitats, we can help rebuild ecosystems, promote biodiversity, and ensure the long-term survival of these remarkable creatures. 5. Conservation and wildlife rehabilitation. 5.1 Understanding wildlife rehabilitation. Wildlife rehabilitation plays a crucial role in conservation efforts by providing care and support to injured, orphaned, or sick animals. This section will explore the importance of wildlife rehabilitation, the role of rescue and rehabilitation centers, the process of caring for orphaned and injured wildlife, and the significance of release and reintroduction programs. Importance of wildlife rehabilitation. Wildlife rehabilitation is a vital component of conservation as it aims to rescue, rehabilitate, and release animals back into their natural habitats. It serves as a bridge between human intervention and the preservation of biodiversity. By providing medical treatment, nourishment, and a safe environment, wildlife rehabilitation centers give animals a second chance at survival. One of the primary goals of wildlife rehabilitation is to ensure that animals can regain their natural behaviors and skills necessary for survival. This includes teaching them how to hunt, forage, and interact with their own species. By successfully rehabilitating and releasing animals, wildlife rehabilitation centers contribute to the overall health and stability of ecosystems. Rescue and rehabilitation centers. Rescue and rehabilitation centers are facilities dedicated to the care and treatment of injured, orphaned, or sick wildlife. These centers are often run by trained professionals and volunteers who have expertise in wildlife rehabilitation. They provide a safe and controlled environment where animals can receive the necessary medical attention and rehabilitation. Rescue centers play a crucial role in responding to emergency situations, such as oil spills, natural disasters, or wildlife trafficking. They work closely with local authorities, conservation organizations, and the community to rescue and provide immediate care to affected animals. These centers also serve as educational hubs, raising awareness about the importance of wildlife conservation and the threats faced by various species. Caring for orphaned and injured wildlife. When orphaned or injured wildlife is brought to a rehabilitation center, they undergo a thorough assessment to determine their condition and needs. This includes a physical examination, diagnostic tests, and behavioral observations. Based on the assessment, a personalized treatment plan is developed to address the specific requirements of each animal. Orphaned animals require specialized care, including proper nutrition, socialization, and environmental enrichment. They are often placed with surrogate mothers or in groups with other orphaned animals to mimic natural social structures. Injured animals receive medical treatment, such as wound care, surgery, or medication, to aid in their recovery. Rehabilitation centers provide a range of services to support the recovery of wildlife, including veterinary care, physical therapy, and behavioral training. They also ensure that animals are provided with appropriate diets and living conditions that mimic their natural habitats as closely as possible. Release and reintroduction programs. The ultimate goal of wildlife rehabilitation is to release animals back into their natural habitats. Release programs are carefully planned to ensure the successful transition of rehabilitated animals into the wild. This involves selecting suitable release sites, considering factors such as habitat suitability, availability of food sources, and the presence of predators or competitors. Before release, animals undergo a period of pre-release conditioning to prepare them for life in the wild. This may include providing opportunities for natural behaviors, such as hunting or foraging, and gradually reducing human contact. The release process itself is often done in stages, allowing animals to acclimate to their surroundings and gradually explore their new environment. Reintroduction programs are implemented for species that are endangered, locally extinct, or have experienced significant population declines. These programs involve carefully selecting individuals for release, monitoring their progress, and implementing strategies to ensure their long-term survival. Reintroduction programs often require collaboration between wildlife rehabilitation centers, conservation organizations, and government agencies. Conclusion. Wildlife rehabilitation plays a crucial role in conservation by providing care and support to injured, orphaned, or sick animals. Rescue and rehabilitation centers serve as vital hubs for the treatment and rehabilitation of wildlife, while also raising awareness about the importance of conservation. By understanding the process of caring for orphaned and injured wildlife and the significance of release and reintroduction programs, individuals can actively support wildlife rehabilitation efforts and contribute to the preservation of biodiversity. 5.2 Rescue and Rehabilitation Centers. Rescue and rehabilitation centers play a crucial role in wildlife conservation by providing care and support to orphaned, injured, and displaced animals. These centers serve as temporary homes for wildlife in need, offering medical treatment, rehabilitation, and ultimately, the opportunity for release back into their natural habitats. If you are passionate about wildlife conservation and want to support these important initiatives, there are several ways you can get involved. 1. Volunteer at a rescue and rehabilitation center. One of the most direct ways to support rescue and rehabilitation centers is by volunteering your time and skills. These centers often rely on dedicated volunteers to assist with various tasks, such as animal care, feeding, cleaning enclosures, and providing enrichment activities for the animals. By volunteering, you not only contribute to the well-being of the animals but also gain valuable hands-on experience and knowledge about wildlife conservation. Before volunteering, it is essential to research and choose a reputable rescue and rehabilitation center that aligns with your values and goals. Reach out to the center and inquire about their volunteer opportunities, requirements, and training programs. Some centers may require specific skills or qualifications, while others may offer training on site. By actively participating in the day-to-day operations of the center, you can make a meaningful impact on the lives of the animals under their care. 2. Donate to rescue and rehabilitation centers. Financial support is crucial for the functioning of rescue and rehabilitation centers. These organizations often rely on donations to cover the costs of medical supplies, food, enclosures, and veterinary care for the animals. By making a monetary contribution, you can directly support the center's efforts in rescuing and rehabilitating wildlife. When donating, it is advisable to research the center and ensure that your funds will be used effectively and transparently. Look for centers that provide detailed information about their financial management and how donations are allocated. Many rescue and rehabilitation centers have websites where you can find information on how to donate securely online or through other means such as bank transfers or check payments. Even small donations can make a significant difference in helping these centers continue their vital work. 3. Fundraise for rescue and rehabilitation centers. Organizing a fundraising event or campaign can be an effective way to raise awareness and generate financial support for rescue and rehabilitation centers. You can collaborate with friends, family, or local community organizations to plan events such as charity runs, bake sales, or auctions. Social media platforms can also be utilized to create online fundraising campaigns, reaching a wider audience and encouraging donations. When planning a fundraising event, it is essential to communicate with the rescue and rehabilitation center you wish to support. They can provide guidance, promotional materials, and even speakers to educate attendees about their work. By involving the community in your fundraising efforts, you not only raise funds but also increase awareness about the importance of wildlife conservation and the role of rescue and rehabilitation centers. 4. Support wildlife rehabilitation legislation. Advocacy plays a crucial role in supporting rescue and rehabilitation centers. By advocating for wildlife rehabilitation legislation, you can help create a legal framework that protects and supports the work of these centers. Contact your local representatives and express your support for legislation that promotes the welfare of wildlife and provides resources for rescue and rehabilitation efforts. Stay informed about proposed legislation related to wildlife rehabilitation and participate in public consultations or hearings. Join or support organizations that actively advocate for wildlife rehabilitation and conservation. By working together, we can ensure that rescue and rehabilitation centers have the necessary legal support and resources to continue their vital work. 5. Spread awareness. Another way to support rescue and rehabilitation centers is by spreading awareness about their work and the importance of wildlife conservation. Utilize your social media platforms, personal networks, and local community organizations to share information about rescue and rehabilitation centers, their success stories, and the challenges they face. Educate others about the impact of human activities on wildlife and the need for conservation efforts. You can also organize educational events or workshops in your community to raise awareness about wildlife rehabilitation and conservation. Invite speakers from rescue and rehabilitation centers to share their experiences and knowledge. By spreading awareness, you can inspire others to get involved and support these critical initiatives. In conclusion, rescue and rehabilitation centers play a vital role in wildlife conservation. By volunteering, donating, fundraising, supporting legislation, and spreading awareness, you can actively contribute to the well-being and conservation of wildlife. Every effort, no matter how small, can make a significant difference in ensuring a brighter future for our precious wildlife. 5.3 Caring for orphaned and injured wildlife. When it comes to wildlife conservation, one crucial aspect is the care and rehabilitation of orphaned and injured animals. These animals often find themselves in vulnerable situations due to various reasons such as habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict, or accidents. Providing them with proper care and support is essential for their survival and eventual release back into the wild. In this section, we will explore the importance of caring for orphaned and injured wildlife and discuss the steps involved in their rehabilitation. The importance of caring for orphaned and injured wildlife. Caring for orphaned and injured wildlife plays a vital role in wildlife conservation efforts. By providing these animals with the necessary care and rehabilitation, we can give them a second chance at life and contribute to the preservation of their species. Here are a few reasons why this work is so important. Species conservation. Orphaned and injured animals are often representative of threatened or endangered species. By rescuing and rehabilitating them, we contribute to the conservation of these species as a whole. Ecosystem balance. Wildlife plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance of ecosystems. By caring for injured animals and releasing them back into their natural habitats, we help restore the ecological balance and ensure the proper functioning of ecosystems. Public awareness. Caring for orphaned and injured wildlife provides an opportunity to raise public awareness about the importance of wildlife conservation. It allows people to witness firsthand the impact of human activities on wildlife and encourages them to take action to protect these animals and their habitats. Steps in caring for orphaned and injured wildlife. Caring for orphaned and injured wildlife requires specialized knowledge and skills. It is essential to follow a structured approach to ensure the well-being and successful rehabilitation of these animals. Here are the key steps involved in the process. Assessment and stabilization. The first step in caring for orphaned and injured wildlife is to assess their condition and provide immediate stabilization. This may involve providing first aid, ensuring the animal is warm and comfortable, and minimizing stress. It is crucial to handle the animal with care and seek professional help if needed. Seek professional assistance. It is important to contact local wildlife rehabilitation centers or wildlife authorities as soon as possible. These organizations have the expertise and resources to provide the necessary care and rehabilitation for orphaned and injured wildlife. They can guide you on the next steps and may even be able to provide immediate assistance. Transportation. If the animal needs to be transported to a rehabilitation center, it is important to do so in a safe and appropriate manner. Follow the instructions provided by the professionals and ensure the animal is secure and comfortable during transportation. Rehabilitation. Once the animal reaches a rehabilitation center, trained professionals will assess its condition and develop a rehabilitation plan. This plan may include medical treatment, proper nutrition, and the provision of a suitable environment for the animal's recovery. The rehabilitation process aims to restore the animal's physical health, behavioral skills, and natural instincts. Socialization and enclosure. Depending on the species and individual needs, orphaned and injured wildlife may require socialization with others of their kind. This helps them develop the necessary social skills and behaviors required for survival in the wild. Enclosures should mimic their natural habitat as closely as possible, providing them with opportunities for exercise, foraging, and other natural behaviors. Pre-release conditioning. Before releasing the animal back into the wild, it is important to ensure that it is fully prepared for independent survival. This may involve providing opportunities for hunting or foraging, gradually reducing human contact, and monitoring the animal's progress. The duration of the conditioning period varies depending on the species and individual circumstances. Release and monitoring. Once the animal is deemed ready for release, it is reintroduced into a suitable habitat. Release protocols may vary depending on the species and location, but it is important to ensure a safe and gradual transition. After release, monitoring the animal's progress is crucial to assess its adaptation to the wild and to gather valuable data for future conservation efforts. Supporting wildlife rehabilitation efforts. While direct involvement in caring for orphaned and injured wildlife may require specialized training and expertise, there are several ways you can support wildlife rehabilitation efforts. Donate. Wildlife rehabilitation centers often rely on donations to cover the costs of medical supplies, food, and facility maintenance. Consider making a financial contribution to support their work. Volunteer. If you have the necessary skills and training, you can volunteer at a wildlife rehabilitation center. This may involve assisting with animal care, enclosure maintenance, or administrative tasks. Spread awareness. Educate others about the importance of wildlife rehabilitation and the need for conservation. Share information through social media, organize awareness campaigns, or give presentations at schools and community events. Follow guidelines. If you come across orphaned or injured wildlife, follow the guidelines provided by local wildlife authorities or rehabilitation centers. Avoid attempting to care for the animal yourself unless you have the proper training and authorization. By supporting wildlife rehabilitation efforts, you contribute to the well-being and conservation of orphaned and injured wildlife. Remember, the ultimate goal is to release these animals back into their natural habitats, where they can thrive and contribute to the overall health of ecosystems. 5.4 Release and Reintroduction Programs. Release and reintroduction programs play a crucial role in wildlife conservation efforts. These programs aim to restore populations of endangered or threatened species to their natural habitats, where they can thrive and contribute to the overall health of ecosystems. By supporting release and reintroduction programs, individuals can actively contribute to the conservation of wildlife and help restore balance to ecosystems. Here are some ways you can support these initiatives. 1. Stay informed. To effectively support release and reintroduction programs, it is essential to stay informed about the species being reintroduced, the locations of release sites, and the goals of the program. Stay updated on the latest research, news, and conservation efforts related to the species you are interested in. This knowledge will help you understand the challenges and opportunities associated with release and reintroduction programs and enable you to make informed decisions about how to support them. 2. Volunteer. Many release and reintroduction programs rely on the assistance of dedicated volunteers. By volunteering your time and skills, you can directly contribute to the success of these programs. Opportunities to volunteer may include assisting with monitoring and tracking released animals, participating in habitat restoration activities, or providing support at rehabilitation centers. Contact local conservation organizations or wildlife rehabilitation centers to inquire about volunteer opportunities in release and reintroduction programs. 3. Donate. Financial contributions are vital for the implementation and maintenance of release and reintroduction programs. Donations can help cover the costs of habitat restoration, veterinary care, monitoring equipment, and research. Consider donating to reputable conservation organizations that specialize in release and reintroduction programs. These organizations often have specific funds dedicated to supporting these initiatives. Before donating, research the organization to ensure that your contribution will be used effectively and transparently. 4. Support conservation organizations. Supporting conservation organizations that actively engage in release and reintroduction programs is another way to contribute to these initiatives. By becoming a member or making regular donations to these organizations, you provide them with the necessary resources to continue their work. Additionally, supporting these organizations helps raise awareness about the importance of release and reintroduction programs and encourages others to get involved. 5. Participate in citizen science projects. Citizen science projects allow individuals to contribute to scientific research and monitoring efforts. Many release and reintroduction programs rely on data collected by citizen scientists to assess the success of reintroduced populations and monitor their behavior and habitat use. By participating in these projects, you can help gather valuable information that contributes to the overall understanding of released species and their impact on ecosystems. 6. Promote conservation education. Education plays a crucial role in supporting release and reintroduction programs. By promoting conservation education in your community, you can raise awareness about the importance of these initiatives and inspire others to get involved. Organize workshops, seminars, or awareness campaigns to educate people about the significance of release and reintroduction programs and the role they play in wildlife conservation. Encourage schools, colleges, and community organizations to include conservation education in their curriculum and activities. 7. Advocate for policy changes. Advocacy for policy changes is another way to support release and reintroduction programs. Engage with local, regional, and national policymakers to promote legislation that protects and supports reintroduced species and their habitats. Advocate for the enforcement of laws that prevent habitat destruction, illegal hunting, and other activities that threaten the success of release and reintroduction programs. By raising your voice and advocating for change, you can help create a more favorable environment for these initiatives. 8. Engage in sustainable practices. Supporting release and reintroduction programs goes beyond direct involvement. Engaging in sustainable practices in your daily life can contribute to the overall conservation efforts. Reduce your ecological footprint by conserving water, energy, and resources. Choose sustainable and ethically sourced products to minimize the demand for goods that harm wildlife and their habitats. By adopting sustainable practices, you contribute to the preservation of ecosystems and create a more favorable environment for reintroduced species. 9. Spread the word. One of the simplest yet effective ways to support release and reintroduction programs is by spreading the word. Use your voice and social media platforms to raise awareness about these initiatives. Share success stories, educational resources, and updates from release and reintroduction programs. Encourage your friends, family, and colleagues to get involved and support these initiatives. By amplifying the message, you can inspire others to take action and contribute to the conservation of wildlife through release and reintroduction programs. By actively supporting release and reintroduction programs, you become an integral part of the conservation efforts aimed at restoring and preserving endangered species and their habitats. Your involvement can make a significant difference in the success of these initiatives and contribute to the overall health and biodiversity of ecosystems. 6. Conservation and sustainable agriculture. 6.1 The impact of agriculture on wildlife. Agriculture is a vital industry that provides food and resources for human populations around the world. However, the expansion and intensification of agriculture have had significant impacts on wildlife and ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the various ways in which agriculture affects wildlife and discuss strategies for mitigating these impacts. 6.1.1 Habitat loss and fragmentation. One of the most significant impacts of agriculture on wildlife is habitat loss and fragmentation. As agricultural practices expand, natural habitats are often cleared to make way for crops or livestock. This loss of habitat can have devastating consequences for wildlife populations, as it disrupts their natural feeding, breeding, and migration patterns. Fragmentation occurs when large areas of habitat are divided into smaller, isolated patches. This fragmentation can lead to a loss of biodiversity and increased vulnerability to predation and disease. Many species require large, contiguous habitats to thrive, and the fragmentation caused by agriculture can hinder their ability to find food, mates, and suitable nesting sites. 6.1.2 Pesticide use. Another significant impact of agriculture on wildlife is the use of pesticides. Pesticides are chemicals used to control pests and diseases in crops, but they can also have unintended consequences for non-target species. Pesticides can contaminate water sources, leading to the poisoning of aquatic organisms. They can also accumulate in the food chain, affecting predators at the top. Birds, bees, and other pollinators are particularly vulnerable to pesticide exposure. Pollinators play a crucial role in the reproduction of many plant species, including crops. The decline of pollinators due to pesticide use can have far-reaching consequences for both agricultural productivity and ecosystem health. 6.1.3 Soil degradation and erosion. Intensive agricultural practices, such as monoculture and excessive tillage, can lead to soil degradation and erosion. When soil is repeatedly tilled and left bare, it becomes more susceptible to erosion by wind and water. Soil erosion not only reduces agricultural productivity but also has negative impacts on wildlife and ecosystems. Eroded soil can smother aquatic habitats, leading to the loss of fish and other aquatic species. It can also carry excess nutrients and pesticides into water bodies, causing water pollution and eutrophication. Additionally, soil erosion can result in the loss of valuable topsoil, which is essential for plant growth and nutrient cycling. 6.1.4 Water consumption and pollution. Agriculture is a significant consumer of freshwater resources, accounting for a large portion of global water use. Irrigation for crops and livestock requires vast amounts of water, often leading to the depletion of water sources and the alteration of natural water flows. This can have severe consequences for aquatic ecosystems and the species that depend on them. Furthermore, agricultural runoff can contribute to water pollution. Excess fertilizers and pesticides applied to fields can be washed into nearby water bodies, leading to nutrient pollution and harmful algal blooms. These blooms can deplete oxygen levels in the water, causing fish kills and other negative impacts on aquatic life. 6.1.5 Strategies for mitigating the impact of agriculture on wildlife. While agriculture has significant impacts on wildlife, there are several strategies that can help mitigate these effects and promote more sustainable farming practices. Conservation agriculture. Conservation agriculture involves practices such as minimal tillage, cover cropping, and crop rotation. These practices help reduce soil erosion, improve soil health, and promote biodiversity on farmland. Integrated pest management. Integrated pest management (IPM) focuses on using a combination of biological, cultural, and chemical control methods to manage pests effectively. By minimizing pesticide use and promoting natural pest control, IPM can reduce the negative impacts on wildlife. Agroforestry. Agroforestry involves integrating trees and shrubs into agricultural landscapes. This practice provides habitat for wildlife, helps control soil erosion, and can enhance biodiversity on farmland. Water conservation. Implementing water-efficient irrigation systems, such as drip irrigation or precision sprinklers, can help reduce water consumption in agriculture. Additionally, implementing water management strategies, such as water recycling and rainwater harvesting, can help conserve water resources. Buffer zones and wildlife corridors. Creating buffer zones and wildlife corridors around agricultural areas can help mitigate the impacts of habitat loss and fragmentation. These areas provide habitat and safe passage for wildlife, allowing them to move between fragmented habitats. Organic farming. Supporting organic farming practices can help reduce the use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, promoting healthier ecosystems and reducing the impacts on wildlife. Education and awareness. Increasing public awareness about the impacts of agriculture on wildlife and promoting sustainable farming practices can encourage consumers to support environmentally friendly agricultural products. By implementing these strategies and supporting sustainable agricultural practices, we can minimize the negative impacts of agriculture on wildlife and work towards a more harmonious coexistence between agriculture and conservation. 6.2 Principles of Sustainable Agriculture. Sustainable agriculture is an approach to farming that aims to meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It focuses on the long-term health and productivity of agricultural systems while minimizing the negative impacts on the environment. By adopting sustainable agricultural practices, we can support conservation efforts and contribute to the preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the principles of sustainable agriculture and how they can be applied to support conservation initiatives. 6.2.1 Soil health and conservation. One of the fundamental principles of sustainable agriculture is maintaining soil health. Healthy soils are essential for the growth of crops and the overall productivity of agricultural systems. By implementing soil conservation practices, farmers can prevent soil erosion, improve soil fertility, and reduce the need for chemical inputs. Conservation tillage is a key practice in sustainable agriculture. It involves minimizing soil disturbance during planting and cultivation, which helps to preserve soil structure and reduce erosion. No-till farming, a form of conservation tillage, eliminates plowing altogether, leaving crop residues on the soil surface to protect against erosion and improve organic matter content. Cover cropping is another important technique for soil conservation. By planting cover crops, such as legumes or grasses, during fallow periods, farmers can prevent soil erosion, suppress weeds, and enhance soil fertility. Cover crops also promote biodiversity by providing habitat for beneficial insects and microorganisms. 6.2.2 Water conservation and efficiency. Water is a precious resource, and sustainable agriculture emphasizes the efficient use and conservation of water. By implementing water conservation practices, farmers can reduce water waste, improve irrigation efficiency, and protect water quality. Drip irrigation is a widely used technique in sustainable agriculture. It delivers water directly to the plant roots, minimizing evaporation and reducing water loss. This method not only conserves water but also improves crop yield and quality. Another approach to water conservation is the use of rainwater harvesting systems. By collecting and storing rainwater, farmers can reduce their reliance on groundwater and surface water sources. This practice is particularly beneficial in areas with limited water availability or during periods of drought. 6.2.3 Biodiversity conservation. Conserving biodiversity is crucial for maintaining healthy ecosystems and supporting wildlife populations. Sustainable agriculture promotes biodiversity conservation by creating and preserving habitats for native plants and animals. Agroforestry is an agricultural practice that integrates trees and shrubs with crops or livestock. This approach provides multiple benefits, including soil conservation, water regulation, and habitat creation. Agroforestry systems can support a wide range of wildlife, from birds and insects to larger mammals. Crop rotation is another technique that promotes biodiversity in agricultural systems. By alternating different crops in a field over time, farmers can disrupt pest and disease cycles, reduce the need for chemical pesticides, and provide habitat for beneficial insects. Crop rotation also helps to improve soil fertility and reduce soil erosion. 6.2.4 Integrated Pest Management. Integrated Pest Management (IPM) is an essential component of sustainable agriculture. It is a holistic approach to pest control that aims to minimize the use of chemical pesticides while effectively managing pest populations. IPM involves a combination of preventive measures, such as crop rotation and the use of resistant crop varieties, as well as biological control methods, such as the introduction of natural predators or parasites. By using these strategies, farmers can reduce their reliance on chemical pesticides, which can have negative impacts on wildlife and the environment. 6.2.5 Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. Energy use in agriculture contributes to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. Sustainable agriculture promotes energy efficiency and the use of renewable energy sources to reduce the environmental footprint of farming operations. Farmers can improve energy efficiency by adopting practices such as precision agriculture, which uses technology to optimize inputs, reduce waste, and improve productivity. This includes using GPS-guided machinery, variable rate application of fertilizers and pesticides, and real-time monitoring of crop conditions. The use of renewable energy sources, such as solar panels or wind turbines, can also help to reduce the carbon footprint of agricultural operations. Farmers can generate their own clean energy and reduce their reliance on fossil fuels, contributing to the mitigation of climate change. Conclusion. By embracing the principles of sustainable agriculture, we can support conservation initiatives and contribute to the preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. Soil health and conservation, water conservation and efficiency, biodiversity conservation, integrated pest management, and energy efficiency are all key aspects of sustainable agriculture. By implementing these practices, farmers can minimize the negative impacts of agriculture on the environment and promote the long-term sustainability of our food systems. 6.3 Conservation Farming Practices. Conservation farming practices are essential for promoting sustainable agriculture and minimizing the negative impact of farming on wildlife and ecosystems. These practices aim to protect and enhance the natural resources that are vital for agricultural production while also preserving biodiversity and ecosystem services. By implementing conservation farming practices, farmers can contribute to wildlife preservation and create a more sustainable future for both agriculture and the environment. 6.3.1 Crop rotation. Crop rotation is a fundamental conservation farming practice that involves growing different crops in a specific sequence on the same piece of land. This practice helps to break the cycle of pests and diseases, improve soil fertility, and reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. By rotating crops, farmers can also provide habitat and food sources for beneficial insects and wildlife, promoting biodiversity on their farms. 6.3.2 Cover crops. Cover crops, also known as green manure, are crops that are grown primarily to protect and improve the soil rather than for harvest. These crops are planted during fallow periods or between cash crops to prevent soil erosion, suppress weeds, and enhance soil fertility. Cover crops also provide habitat for beneficial insects, birds, and other wildlife, contributing to the overall biodiversity of the farm. Additionally, cover crops can help sequester carbon from the atmosphere, mitigating climate change impacts. 6.3.3 Conservation tillage. Conservation tillage practices involve reducing or eliminating the intensity of soil disturbance during planting and cultivation. This practice helps to prevent soil erosion, improve water infiltration, and retain soil moisture. By minimizing soil disturbance, farmers can also preserve soil structure and organic matter, which are crucial for maintaining soil health and fertility. Conservation tillage practices can significantly reduce the use of fossil fuels and decrease greenhouse gas emissions associated with conventional tillage methods. 6.3.4 Agroforestry. Agroforestry is a land use system that combines trees or shrubs with agricultural crops or livestock. This practice provides multiple benefits, including soil conservation, biodiversity conservation, and climate change mitigation. Trees and shrubs in agroforestry systems help stabilize soils, reduce erosion, and enhance water infiltration. They also provide shade, shelter, and food sources for wildlife, contributing to the overall ecological balance of the farm. Agroforestry systems can also sequester significant amounts of carbon, helping to mitigate climate change. 6.3.5 Integrated Pest Management (IPM). Integrated Pest Management (IPM) is an approach that focuses on managing pests and diseases in a holistic and environmentally friendly manner. IPM involves a combination of techniques such as biological control, crop rotation, habitat manipulation, and the judicious use of pesticides when necessary. By implementing IPM strategies, farmers can minimize the use of synthetic pesticides, reduce the risk of pesticide resistance, and protect beneficial insects and wildlife that play a crucial role in natural pest control. 6.3.6 Water conservation. Water conservation is a critical aspect of conservation farming practices, especially in regions where water resources are limited or prone to drought. Farmers can adopt various water-saving techniques such as drip irrigation, mulching, and rainwater harvesting to optimize water use and minimize wastage. By conserving water, farmers can maintain healthy ecosystems, support aquatic biodiversity, and ensure the availability of water for future generations. 6.3.7 Soil conservation. Soil conservation practices are essential for maintaining soil health and preventing erosion. Farmers can implement techniques such as contour plowing, terracing, and the use of windbreaks to minimize soil erosion caused by water and wind. By preventing soil erosion, farmers can preserve the fertility of their land, protect water quality, and maintain the integrity of nearby ecosystems. Soil conservation practices also help to sequester carbon in the soil, contributing to climate change mitigation. 6.3.8 Biodiversity conservation. Conservation farming practices inherently promote biodiversity conservation by providing habitat and food sources for wildlife. However, farmers can further enhance biodiversity on their farms by creating wildlife-friendly habitats such as hedgerows, field margins, and ponds. These habitats can attract a wide range of beneficial insects, birds, and mammals, which contribute to natural pest control and pollination. By actively promoting biodiversity, farmers can create a balanced and resilient ecosystem that supports sustainable agriculture. 6.3.9 Organic farming. Organic farming is an agricultural system that relies on natural processes and avoids the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and genetically modified organisms. By adopting organic farming practices, farmers can minimize the negative impact of agriculture on wildlife and ecosystems. Organic farming promotes soil health, biodiversity, and water conservation, while also producing food that is free from harmful residues. Supporting local and organic agriculture by purchasing organic products can also contribute to the growth of sustainable farming practices. In conclusion, conservation farming practices play a crucial role in supporting wildlife preservation and promoting sustainable agriculture. By implementing practices such as crop rotation, cover cropping, conservation tillage, agroforestry, integrated pest management, water and soil conservation, biodiversity conservation, and organic farming, farmers can minimize the negative impact of agriculture on the environment while also ensuring the long-term viability of their farms. Supporting and promoting these practices can contribute to the conservation of wildlife and ecosystems, creating a more sustainable and harmonious relationship between agriculture and the natural world. 6.4 Supporting local and organic agriculture. Supporting local and organic agriculture is an effective way to contribute to conservation efforts. By choosing to purchase and consume locally grown and organic produce, you can help protect the environment, promote biodiversity, and support sustainable farming practices. In this section, we will explore the benefits of supporting local and organic agriculture and provide practical tips on how you can get involved. The benefits of local and organic agriculture. Environmental conservation. Local and organic agriculture practices prioritize the health of the environment. Organic farming avoids the use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, reducing the pollution of soil and water. Additionally, organic farmers often employ techniques such as crop rotation and composting, which help maintain soil fertility and prevent erosion. By supporting local and organic agriculture, you are indirectly supporting the conservation of natural resources and the preservation of ecosystems. Biodiversity preservation. Local and organic farmers often cultivate a wide variety of crops, which promotes biodiversity. Unlike large-scale industrial farming, which tends to focus on monoculture, local and organic farmers embrace crop diversity, which helps maintain a balanced ecosystem. By supporting local farmers, you are encouraging the preservation of traditional and heirloom crop varieties, which are often more resilient to pests and diseases. Reduced carbon footprint. Buying locally grown produce reduces the carbon footprint associated with transportation. Locally sourced food travels shorter distances from farm to table, resulting in lower greenhouse gas emissions. By supporting local agriculture, you are contributing to the reduction of carbon emissions and combating climate change. Supporting the local economy. When you purchase food from local farmers, you are directly supporting the local economy. By keeping your money within the community, you help create jobs and stimulate economic growth. This, in turn, contributes to the overall well-being of the community and helps maintain the cultural heritage associated with local agriculture. Practical tips for supporting local and organic agriculture. Shop at farmers markets. Farmers markets are a great place to find locally grown and organic produce. These markets provide an opportunity to connect directly with farmers and learn about their farming practices. By purchasing from farmers markets, you can support local agriculture while enjoying fresh and seasonal produce. Join a community-supported agriculture (CSA) program. CSA programs allow consumers to purchase a share of a local farm's harvest in advance. By becoming a member of a CSA, you not only receive a regular supply of fresh produce but also provide financial support to the farmer. CSA programs often offer a variety of fruits, vegetables, and sometimes even meat and dairy products. Visit local farms. Many local farms offer tours and educational programs for the public. Visiting a farm allows you to see firsthand how your food is produced and learn about sustainable farming practices. It also provides an opportunity to engage with farmers and ask questions about their methods. Grow your own food. If you have the space and resources, consider starting a small garden in your backyard or even growing herbs and vegetables in pots on your balcony. By growing your own food, you can ensure its organic nature and reduce your reliance on commercially produced crops. Support organic certification. Look for products that carry the organic certification label. This ensures that the food has been produced according to strict organic standards. By choosing certified organic products, you are supporting farmers who adhere to sustainable farming practices. Educate yourself and others. Stay informed about the benefits of local and organic agriculture and share this knowledge with others. By raising awareness and encouraging others to support local and organic farming, you can help create a demand for sustainable food production. Advocate for policy changes. Support organizations and initiatives that advocate for policies promoting local and organic agriculture. By getting involved in advocacy efforts, you can help shape policies that support sustainable farming practices and conservation. Remember, every small step counts. By supporting local and organic agriculture, you are making a positive impact on the environment, biodiversity, and the local economy. Your choices as a consumer can contribute to the conservation of natural resources and the preservation of ecosystems for future generations. 7. Conservation and climate change. 7.1 Understanding the impact of climate change on wildlife. Climate change is one of the most pressing issues facing our planet today, and its impact on wildlife is significant. As temperatures rise, weather patterns become more unpredictable, and ecosystems are disrupted, wildlife populations are facing numerous challenges. Understanding these impacts is crucial for effective conservation efforts. In this section, we will explore the various ways in which climate change affects wildlife and the importance of addressing these challenges. Rising temperatures and habitat loss. One of the most direct impacts of climate change on wildlife is the rise in global temperatures. As temperatures increase, many species are forced to adapt or migrate to more suitable habitats. However, the rate at which temperatures are rising is often faster than the ability of wildlife to adapt, leading to habitat loss and fragmentation. For example, polar bears rely on sea ice for hunting and breeding. As the Arctic sea ice melts due to rising temperatures, polar bears are losing their primary habitat. This not only threatens the survival of polar bears but also disrupts the entire Arctic ecosystem. Similarly, many bird species rely on specific temperature ranges for breeding and migration. As temperatures shift, these species may struggle to find suitable habitats, leading to population declines and potential extinctions. Altered phenology and migration patterns. Climate change also affects the timing of natural events, such as flowering, breeding, and migration, known as phenology. Many species have evolved to rely on specific environmental cues for these events, such as temperature or day length. However, as these cues change due to climate change, the timing of these events becomes disrupted. For example, some bird species time their migration based on the availability of food sources, such as insects or flowering plants. If the timing of these events becomes out of sync due to climate change, birds may arrive at their breeding grounds when food is scarce, leading to reduced reproductive success. Similarly, changes in phenology can impact the relationship between predators and prey. For instance, if the timing of insect hatching shifts, it can affect the availability of food for insect-eating birds, leading to population declines. Increased frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Climate change is also associated with an increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, droughts, and wildfires. These events can have devastating effects on wildlife populations. For example, hurricanes can destroy habitats, disrupt breeding cycles, and cause direct mortality in wildlife. Coral reefs, which are vital ecosystems supporting a diverse range of marine species, are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of hurricanes. The destruction of coral reefs not only affects the species directly dependent on them but also disrupts the entire food chain. Droughts can lead to water scarcity, affecting freshwater ecosystems and the species that rely on them. Fish populations may decline, and wetland habitats may dry up, impacting migratory birds and other wildlife that depend on these habitats for breeding and feeding. Ocean acidification and coral bleaching. Climate change is not only affecting terrestrial ecosystems but also marine ecosystems. One of the significant impacts is ocean acidification, which occurs when the ocean absorbs excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This acidification can have detrimental effects on marine life, particularly on organisms that rely on calcium carbonate to build their shells or skeletons, such as corals, shellfish, and some plankton species. Coral bleaching is another consequence of climate change in the oceans. When corals are exposed to stressful conditions, such as increased water temperatures, they expel the symbiotic algae living within their tissues, causing them to turn white or bleach. Bleached corals are more susceptible to disease and mortality, leading to the loss of critical habitats for numerous marine species. Range shifts and invasive species. As climate change alters habitats, many species are forced to shift their ranges in search of suitable conditions. This can lead to the expansion of some species into new areas, potentially causing conflicts with native species and disrupting local ecosystems. Additionally, climate change can create more favorable conditions for invasive species, which can outcompete native species for resources and disrupt ecosystem dynamics. Invasive species can have significant negative impacts on biodiversity and ecosystem functioning. The importance of addressing climate change for wildlife conservation. Understanding the impact of climate change on wildlife is crucial for effective conservation efforts. By recognizing the specific challenges faced by different species and ecosystems, conservationists can develop strategies to mitigate these impacts and promote resilience. Conservation initiatives should focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, promoting sustainable land and resource management practices, and protecting and restoring habitats. Additionally, efforts should be made to enhance the adaptive capacity of wildlife populations, such as creating wildlife corridors to facilitate species movement and promoting genetic diversity within populations. Collaboration between governments, conservation organizations, scientists, and local communities is essential to address the complex challenges posed by climate change. By working together, we can develop innovative solutions and implement effective strategies to protect wildlife and ensure a sustainable future for our planet. 7.2 Mitigation Strategies for Climate Change. Climate change is one of the most pressing challenges facing our planet today. It poses a significant threat to wildlife and ecosystems around the world. As individuals, we have a responsibility to take action and support mitigation strategies to reduce the impacts of climate change. By implementing these strategies, we can help protect and preserve the natural world for future generations. Understanding climate change mitigation. Climate change mitigation refers to efforts aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions and minimizing the effects of climate change. These strategies focus on decreasing the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere. By doing so, we can slow down the rate of global warming and mitigate its adverse effects on wildlife and ecosystems. Individual actions for climate change mitigation. While addressing climate change may seem like a daunting task, there are several actions individuals can take to support mitigation efforts. Reduce energy consumption. One of the most effective ways to mitigate climate change is by reducing our energy consumption. This can be achieved by using energy-efficient appliances, turning off lights when not in use, and opting for renewable energy sources such as solar or wind power. Minimize carbon footprint. Our daily activities contribute to our carbon footprint. By making conscious choices, such as using public transportation, carpooling, or cycling instead of driving, we can reduce our carbon emissions. Additionally, choosing to eat locally sourced and sustainable food can also help minimize our carbon footprint. Support renewable energy. Transitioning to renewable energy sources is crucial for mitigating climate change. Supporting and advocating for renewable energy initiatives, such as wind and solar power, can help reduce reliance on fossil fuels and decrease greenhouse gas emissions. Plant trees and support reforestation. Trees play a vital role in mitigating climate change by absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. Supporting reforestation efforts and participating in tree planting initiatives can help restore ecosystems and sequester carbon from the atmosphere. Promote sustainable transportation. Encouraging the use of public transportation, walking, or cycling can significantly reduce carbon emissions from transportation. Supporting the development of infrastructure for electric vehicles and advocating for sustainable transportation policies can also contribute to climate change mitigation. Reduce waste and recycle. Waste management is an important aspect of climate change mitigation. By reducing waste generation, recycling, and composting, we can minimize the release of greenhouse gases from landfills and conserve resources. Advocate for policy changes. Individual actions alone are not enough to address climate change. It is essential to advocate for policy changes at the local, national, and international levels. This can include supporting policies that promote renewable energy, carbon pricing, and sustainable land use practices. Supporting conservation organizations and initiatives. In addition to individual actions, supporting conservation organizations and initiatives focused on climate change mitigation is crucial. These organizations play a vital role in implementing large-scale projects and advocating for policy changes. Here are some ways you can support their efforts. Donate to conservation organizations. Financial contributions to reputable conservation organizations can help fund research, conservation projects, and advocacy efforts focused on climate change mitigation. Look for organizations that have a strong track record and transparent use of funds. Volunteer for conservation projects. Many conservation organizations rely on volunteers to assist with various projects. By offering your time and skills, you can directly contribute to climate change mitigation initiatives, such as tree planting, habitat restoration, or community education programs. Participate in citizen science programs. Citizen science programs allow individuals to contribute to scientific research by collecting data on climate change and its impacts. By participating in these programs, you can help scientists gather valuable information and contribute to our understanding of climate change. Engage in advocacy and awareness campaigns. Joining advocacy campaigns and raising awareness about climate change and its impacts can help mobilize support for mitigation strategies. Use social media platforms, attend public meetings, and engage with policymakers to amplify your voice and promote climate change action. Support sustainable businesses. Choose to support businesses that prioritize sustainable practices and have a commitment to reducing their carbon footprint. By purchasing products and services from these businesses, you are indirectly supporting their efforts to mitigate climate change. Stay informed and educate others. Stay updated on the latest scientific research and news related to climate change. Educate yourself and others about the importance of climate change mitigation and the actions individuals can take to make a difference. By implementing these mitigation strategies and supporting conservation organizations and initiatives, we can contribute to the global effort to combat climate change. Remember, every action, no matter how small, counts towards creating a more sustainable and resilient future for wildlife and ecosystems. 7.3 Adaptation and Resilience in Conservation. Climate change is one of the greatest challenges facing wildlife and ecosystems today. As temperatures rise, weather patterns become more unpredictable, and habitats shift, conservation efforts must adapt and build resilience to ensure the long-term survival of species and ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the concept of adaptation and resilience in conservation and discuss strategies to support these initiatives. Understanding adaptation and resilience. Adaptation refers to the ability of species and ecosystems to adjust to changing environmental conditions. It involves both short-term responses, such as behavioral changes, and long-term evolutionary processes, such as genetic adaptation. Resilience, on the other hand, refers to the capacity of ecosystems to absorb disturbances and maintain their essential functions and structures. Conservation efforts focused on adaptation and resilience aim to enhance the ability of species and ecosystems to withstand and recover from the impacts of climate change. By implementing strategies that promote adaptation and resilience, we can help safeguard biodiversity and ensure the continued provision of ecosystem services. Supporting adaptation and resilience in conservation. Protect and restore habitats. One of the most effective ways to support adaptation and resilience in conservation is by protecting and restoring habitats. Healthy and intact habitats provide a range of microclimates and resources that allow species to adapt to changing conditions. By conserving existing habitats and restoring degraded ones, we can create resilient landscapes that support a diverse array of species. Promote connectivity. Climate change often leads to shifts in species ranges and the fragmentation of habitats. To facilitate species movement and adaptation, it is crucial to promote connectivity between habitats. This can be achieved through the creation of wildlife corridors, the restoration of natural corridors, and the removal of barriers such as fences and roads that impede species movement. Manage invasive species. Invasive species can pose a significant threat to native species and ecosystems, especially in the face of climate change. They can outcompete native species for resources and disrupt ecosystem processes. By implementing effective invasive species management strategies, such as early detection and rapid response programs, we can reduce the negative impacts of invasives and enhance the resilience of ecosystems. Support assisted migration. Assisted migration, also known as managed relocation, involves the intentional movement of species to areas where they are predicted to thrive under future climate conditions. While this strategy is controversial and requires careful consideration, it can be a valuable tool for conserving species at risk of extinction due to climate change. Supporting research and initiatives that explore the feasibility and potential risks of assisted migration can contribute to adaptation efforts. Implement adaptive management. Adaptive management is an iterative process that involves monitoring, learning, and adjusting conservation strategies based on new information and changing conditions. By embracing adaptive management approaches, conservation practitioners can continually improve their strategies and increase the resilience of their projects. Supporting organizations that prioritize adaptive management and invest in research and monitoring can help advance conservation efforts. Engage local communities. Local communities play a crucial role in conservation, and their involvement is essential for successful adaptation and resilience initiatives. Engaging communities in conservation planning and decision-making processes can lead to more effective and sustainable outcomes. Supporting community-based conservation projects and initiatives that empower local communities to take an active role in conservation can contribute to building resilience at the grassroots level. Advocate for policy change. Policy plays a critical role in shaping conservation efforts and addressing the challenges posed by climate change. By advocating for policies that prioritize adaptation and resilience, we can create an enabling environment for conservation initiatives. This can include supporting legislation that protects habitats, promotes sustainable land use practices, and incentivizes climate-smart conservation strategies. Invest in research and innovation. Continued research and innovation are essential for developing effective adaptation and resilience strategies. Supporting scientific research, technological advancements, and innovation in conservation can help identify new approaches and tools to address the impacts of climate change. Additionally, investing in capacity-building programs that train conservation professionals in climate change adaptation can enhance the resilience of conservation efforts. By supporting adaptation and resilience in conservation, we can contribute to the long-term survival of species and ecosystems in the face of climate change. Whether through habitat protection, community engagement, policy advocacy, or research support, every individual can play a role in building a more resilient future for wildlife and the environment. 7.4 Conservation and renewable energy. Renewable energy plays a crucial role in supporting conservation efforts around the world. As the demand for energy continues to rise, it is essential to find sustainable alternatives that minimize the impact on wildlife and ecosystems. In this section, we will explore the intersection between conservation and renewable energy and discuss how individuals and communities can support these initiatives. The importance of renewable energy in conservation. Renewable energy sources, such as solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal power, offer significant benefits for both the environment and wildlife. Unlike fossil fuels, renewable energy does not produce harmful greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. By reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, we can mitigate the negative impacts of climate change on wildlife habitats and ecosystems. Renewable energy projects also have a smaller ecological footprint compared to traditional energy sources. For example, solar panels can be installed on rooftops or in open fields without disturbing natural habitats. Wind turbines can be strategically placed in areas with minimal impact on bird migration patterns. Hydroelectric power harnesses the energy of flowing water without causing significant disruption to aquatic ecosystems. Supporting renewable energy initiatives. Advocate for renewable energy policies. Individuals can support renewable energy by advocating for policies that promote its development. This can include contacting local and national government representatives, attending public hearings, and joining advocacy groups focused on renewable energy. By voicing your support for renewable energy, you can help create a favorable policy environment for its growth. Invest in renewable energy. Consider investing in renewable energy projects or companies. Many financial institutions offer green investment options that support the development of renewable energy infrastructure. By investing in renewable energy, you not only contribute to its expansion but also potentially earn financial returns. Install renewable energy systems. If feasible, consider installing renewable energy systems in your home or business. Solar panels, wind turbines, or geothermal systems can help reduce your reliance on fossil fuels and lower your carbon footprint. Additionally, you may be eligible for government incentives or tax credits that make these installations more affordable. Support renewable energy certificates. Renewable energy certificates (RECs) allow individuals and organizations to support renewable energy projects indirectly. By purchasing RECs, you are essentially buying the environmental benefits associated with renewable energy generation. These certificates help fund the development of new renewable energy projects and support the transition to a cleaner energy future. Promote community renewable energy projects. Get involved in community-based renewable energy initiatives. These projects often involve local residents coming together to develop and finance renewable energy installations. By supporting these initiatives, you can contribute to the growth of renewable energy in your community and create a more sustainable future. Educate others. Raise awareness about the importance of renewable energy and its connection to conservation. Share information with friends, family, and colleagues about the benefits of renewable energy and how it can help protect wildlife and ecosystems. Encourage others to make sustainable energy choices and support renewable energy initiatives. Challenges and considerations. While renewable energy offers numerous benefits for conservation, it is essential to consider potential challenges and mitigate any negative impacts. Some key considerations include location and siting. Renewable energy projects should be carefully planned and sited to minimize their impact on wildlife habitats and migration routes. Proper environmental assessments and studies should be conducted to ensure that the chosen locations do not harm sensitive ecosystems or endangered species. Collaboration with conservation organizations. Renewable energy developers should collaborate with conservation organizations to ensure that projects are designed and implemented in a manner that minimizes harm to wildlife and ecosystems. By working together, renewable energy and conservation sectors can find mutually beneficial solutions. Technological advancements. Continued research and development in renewable energy technologies are crucial to improving their efficiency and reducing their environmental impact. Supporting research initiatives and technological advancements can help accelerate the transition to a cleaner and more sustainable energy future. Balancing energy needs. While renewable energy is essential for conservation, it is also crucial to balance energy needs with the protection of wildlife and ecosystems. Conservation efforts should focus on energy efficiency, reducing energy consumption, and promoting responsible energy use alongside the development of renewable energy sources. By supporting renewable energy initiatives, individuals and communities can contribute to both conservation and the transition to a more sustainable energy future. Through advocacy, investment, and personal choices, we can help protect wildlife and ecosystems while meeting our energy needs. 8. Conservation and education. 8.1 The role of education in conservation. Education plays a crucial role in conservation efforts by raising awareness, fostering a sense of responsibility, and empowering individuals to take action. It provides the knowledge and understanding necessary to make informed decisions and implement sustainable practices. This section explores the importance of education in conservation and highlights various educational initiatives that support wildlife preservation. The importance of education in conservation. Education is a powerful tool for promoting conservation because it helps people understand the value of biodiversity and the interconnectedness of ecosystems. By providing information about the threats facing wildlife and the environment, education can inspire individuals to take action and make positive changes in their daily lives. One of the key benefits of education in conservation is its ability to raise awareness. Many people are unaware of the extent of the challenges facing wildlife and ecosystems. Through education, individuals can learn about the impacts of habitat loss, pollution, climate change, and other threats. This knowledge can motivate them to support conservation initiatives and make environmentally conscious choices. Education also plays a vital role in fostering a sense of responsibility towards the environment. By teaching individuals about the importance of preserving biodiversity and the consequences of inaction, education can instill a sense of duty to protect and conserve natural resources. This sense of responsibility can drive individuals to make sustainable choices and advocate for conservation measures. Furthermore, education empowers individuals to take action. By providing them with the necessary knowledge and skills, education equips people to actively participate in conservation efforts. Whether it is through volunteering, advocating for policy changes, or implementing sustainable practices in their communities, educated individuals can make a significant impact on wildlife preservation. Environmental education programs. Environmental education programs are designed to promote conservation awareness and provide individuals with the knowledge and skills needed to protect the environment. These programs can take various forms, including formal education in schools, community workshops, nature centers, and online courses. Here are some examples of environmental education initiatives. School programs. Many schools incorporate environmental education into their curriculum, teaching students about biodiversity, ecosystems, and conservation. These programs often include field trips to natural areas, hands-on activities, and projects that encourage students to engage with nature and understand its importance. Nature centers and museums. Nature centers and museums provide interactive exhibits and educational programs that teach visitors about local wildlife, ecosystems, and conservation issues. These institutions often offer guided tours, workshops, and educational events for people of all ages. Community workshops. Community workshops bring together individuals from different backgrounds to learn about conservation topics and discuss ways to address environmental challenges. These workshops may cover subjects such as sustainable gardening, wildlife conservation, and climate change mitigation. Online courses and webinars. With the advancement of technology, online courses and webinars have become popular platforms for environmental education. These programs allow individuals to learn at their own pace and access educational resources from anywhere in the world. Conservation education for children. Educating children about conservation is crucial for building a sustainable future. By instilling a love and respect for nature at a young age, children are more likely to grow up as environmentally conscious individuals. Here are some approaches to conservation education for children. School-based programs. Schools can incorporate conservation topics into their curriculum, teaching children about biodiversity, ecosystems, and the importance of environmental stewardship. Field trips to nature reserves or local parks can provide hands-on learning experiences. Nature-based activities. Encouraging children to spend time in nature through activities like hiking, gardening, and wildlife observation can foster a connection with the natural world. These experiences can be supplemented with discussions about conservation and the role they can play in protecting wildlife. Environmental clubs and organizations. Schools and communities can establish environmental clubs or organizations where children can engage in conservation projects, such as tree planting, recycling initiatives, or wildlife habitat restoration. These activities promote teamwork and a sense of responsibility towards the environment. Storytelling and art. Storybooks and art activities centered around conservation themes can capture children's imagination and help them understand the importance of protecting wildlife and ecosystems. These creative outlets can inspire children to become advocates for conservation. Promoting conservation awareness. In addition to formal education programs, there are various ways to promote conservation awareness in communities. These initiatives aim to engage individuals and encourage them to take action. Here are some strategies for promoting conservation awareness. Public awareness campaigns. Public awareness campaigns use various media platforms, such as television, radio, social media, and billboards, to disseminate information about conservation issues. These campaigns can raise awareness, change attitudes, and inspire individuals to support conservation efforts. Community events. Organizing community events, such as nature walks, cleanup drives, or environmental fairs, can bring people together and create opportunities for learning and engagement. These events provide a platform for conservation organizations to showcase their work and educate the public. Collaboration with local institutions. Partnering with local schools, universities, libraries, and community centers can help reach a wider audience and promote conservation education. These collaborations can involve guest lectures, workshops, or the establishment of resource centers for environmental education. Engaging with the media. Working with the media, including newspapers, magazines, and online platforms, can help raise awareness about conservation issues. Writing articles, giving interviews, or contributing to documentaries can provide opportunities to educate the public and advocate for wildlife preservation. Education is a powerful tool for conservation. By raising awareness, fostering a sense of responsibility, and empowering individuals to take action, education plays a crucial role in supporting wildlife preservation. Through environmental education programs, conservation education for children, and initiatives that promote conservation awareness, individuals can become informed advocates for the protection of our natural world. 8.2 Environmental education programs. Environmental education plays a crucial role in promoting conservation and creating a sustainable future. By increasing awareness and understanding of environmental issues, these programs empower individuals to take action and support conservation initiatives. Environmental education programs can be implemented in various settings, including schools, community centers, nature reserves, and online platforms. In this section, we will explore the importance of environmental education programs and discuss different approaches to supporting and participating in these initiatives. The importance of environmental education programs. Environmental education programs are essential for fostering a sense of responsibility and stewardship towards the environment. By providing knowledge and skills, these programs empower individuals to make informed decisions and take actions that contribute to conservation efforts. Here are some key reasons why environmental education programs are crucial. Awareness and understanding. Environmental education programs help individuals understand the interconnectedness of ecosystems, the impact of human activities on the environment, and the importance of biodiversity conservation. This knowledge enables people to make sustainable choices in their daily lives. Empowerment. Environmental education empowers individuals to become active participants in conservation initiatives. By providing them with the necessary tools and information, these programs enable people to take action and make a positive difference in their communities. Behavior change. Environmental education programs aim to change attitudes and behaviors towards the environment. By promoting sustainable practices and highlighting the consequences of unsustainable actions, these programs encourage individuals to adopt environmentally friendly behaviors. Future generations. Environmental education programs are particularly important for children and young adults. By instilling a sense of environmental responsibility at an early age, these programs help shape the values and behaviors of future generations, ensuring a sustainable future. Supporting environmental education programs. There are several ways in which individuals can support and participate in environmental education programs. Here are some approaches to consider. Volunteering. Many environmental education programs rely on volunteers to assist with teaching, organizing events, and conducting research. By volunteering your time and expertise, you can directly contribute to the success of these programs. Contact local schools, nature centers, or environmental organizations to inquire about volunteer opportunities. Donations. Financial contributions are crucial for the sustainability of environmental education programs. Consider donating to organizations that focus on environmental education or specific initiatives that align with your interests. Your donations can help fund educational materials, field trips, and workshops for students. Advocacy. Advocate for the inclusion of environmental education in school curricula and community programs. Write letters to policymakers, attend public meetings, and engage with local organizations to raise awareness about the importance of environmental education. By advocating for its integration, you can help ensure that future generations receive the necessary knowledge and skills to become environmental stewards. Participate in workshops and events. Attend workshops, seminars, and events organized by environmental education programs. These events provide opportunities to learn from experts, engage in discussions, and network with like-minded individuals. By participating, you can expand your knowledge and contribute to the ongoing dialogue on environmental conservation. Support online platforms. In the digital age, online platforms play a significant role in environmental education. Support websites, blogs, and social media channels that provide educational content and resources on conservation. Share informative articles, videos, and infographics to raise awareness among your online networks. Engage with local schools and community centers. Collaborate with local schools and community centers to promote environmental education. Offer to give presentations, lead workshops, or organize field trips that focus on environmental topics. By engaging with these institutions, you can directly impact the education and awareness of young individuals. Become an environmental educator. If you have a passion for the environment and enjoy teaching, consider becoming an environmental educator. Pursue relevant training and certifications to enhance your knowledge and teaching skills. By becoming an educator, you can inspire and empower others to take action for conservation. Remember, supporting environmental education programs is not limited to one approach. You can combine multiple strategies based on your interests, skills, and available resources. Every contribution, no matter how small, can make a significant impact on promoting conservation and creating a sustainable future. 8.3 Conservation education for children. Conservation education plays a crucial role in shaping the future of our planet. By instilling a sense of environmental responsibility and awareness in children, we can create a generation that is passionate about protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems. Conservation education for children not only helps them understand the importance of biodiversity and the threats it faces but also empowers them to take action and make a positive impact on the world around them. The importance of conservation education for children. Conservation education for children is essential for several reasons. Firstly, it helps children develop a deep appreciation and understanding of the natural world. By learning about different species, ecosystems, and the interconnectedness of all living things, children can develop a sense of wonder and respect for nature. Secondly, conservation education equips children with the knowledge and skills needed to become responsible stewards of the environment. They learn about the importance of sustainable practices, such as reducing waste, conserving water, and protecting habitats. These lessons empower children to make informed choices that minimize their ecological footprint. Furthermore, conservation education fosters empathy and compassion towards wildlife. Children learn about the challenges faced by endangered species and the impact of human activities on their habitats. This understanding helps children develop a sense of responsibility towards protecting and conserving wildlife. Incorporating conservation education into the curriculum. To effectively promote conservation education for children, it is crucial to integrate it into the school curriculum. By incorporating conservation topics into various subjects, children can learn about the environment from multiple perspectives. Here are some ways to incorporate conservation education into the curriculum. Science. Teach children about ecosystems, biodiversity, and the interdependence of species. Explore topics such as climate change, pollution, and habitat destruction, and discuss their impact on wildlife and ecosystems. Social studies. Introduce children to indigenous cultures and their traditional knowledge of conservation. Teach them about the importance of preserving cultural diversity and the role of indigenous communities in conservation efforts. Language arts. Encourage children to read books and stories that highlight environmental themes and conservation heroes. Engage them in discussions and writing activities that promote critical thinking and reflection on conservation issues. Mathematics. Use real-life examples to teach children about the importance of data collection and analysis in conservation. Help them understand concepts such as population dynamics, habitat fragmentation, and the calculation of ecological footprints. Arts and crafts. Engage children in creative activities that promote conservation awareness. Encourage them to create artwork, posters, or sculptures that depict wildlife and their habitats. This allows them to express their understanding and emotions about conservation. Hands-on learning and outdoor experiences. While classroom learning is essential, hands-on experiences and outdoor activities are equally important for conservation education. These experiences allow children to connect with nature directly and develop a deeper understanding of the environment. Here are some ways to incorporate hands-on learning and outdoor experiences. Field trips. Organize field trips to local parks, nature reserves, or wildlife rehabilitation centers. These trips provide children with the opportunity to observe and learn about different species, ecosystems, and conservation efforts firsthand. Nature walks. Take children on nature walks in nearby green spaces. Encourage them to observe and document the plants, animals, and natural features they encounter. This helps them develop a sense of curiosity and connection with the natural world. Gardening projects. Engage children in gardening projects at school or home. Teach them about the importance of native plants, pollinators, and creating wildlife-friendly habitats. This hands-on experience allows children to witness the positive impact they can have on the environment. Citizen science. Introduce children to citizen science projects where they can contribute to real scientific research. Encourage them to participate in activities such as bird counting, butterfly monitoring, or water quality testing. This involvement fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility towards conservation. Collaboration with conservation organizations and experts. Collaborating with conservation organizations and experts can greatly enhance the effectiveness of conservation education for children. These partnerships provide access to resources, expertise, and real-world examples of conservation efforts. Here are some ways to collaborate. Guest speakers. Invite conservationists, scientists, or wildlife experts to speak to children about their work and experiences. These interactions inspire children and provide them with role models who are actively involved in conservation. Workshops and programs. Partner with local conservation organizations to conduct workshops or programs specifically designed for children. These interactive sessions can include activities such as animal tracking, habitat restoration, or wildlife photography. Online resources. Utilize online resources provided by conservation organizations to supplement classroom learning. Many organizations offer educational materials, videos, and interactive games that engage children in learning about conservation. Community involvement. Encourage children to participate in community events and initiatives related to conservation. This could include beach cleanups, tree planting, or volunteering at local wildlife rehabilitation centers. These experiences allow children to see the impact of their actions and connect with like-minded individuals. Evaluation and continuous improvement. To ensure the effectiveness of conservation education for children, it is important to evaluate the impact of the programs and make continuous improvements. Regular assessment helps identify areas of improvement and allows for the development of more effective strategies. Here are some evaluation methods. Surveys and feedback. Collect feedback from children, teachers, and parents to gauge the effectiveness of conservation education programs. This feedback can provide valuable insights into the strengths and weaknesses of the initiatives. Assessment of knowledge and attitudes. conduct pre- and post-program assessments to measure changes in children's knowledge and attitudes towards conservation. This helps determine the effectiveness of the education programs in achieving their objectives. Long-term tracking. Track the long-term impact of conservation education by following up with children after they have completed the programs. This can help assess whether the knowledge and values imparted during the programs have been retained and translated into action. By investing in conservation education for children, we can create a generation that is passionate about protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems. Through integrated curriculum, hands-on experiences, collaboration with experts, and continuous evaluation, we can empower children to become active participants in conservation efforts and ensure a sustainable future for our planet. 8.4 Promoting conservation awareness. Promoting conservation awareness is a crucial aspect of supporting conservation initiatives. By raising awareness about the importance of wildlife preservation and the threats facing our ecosystems, individuals can inspire others to take action and contribute to conservation efforts. In this section, we will explore various strategies and approaches to effectively promote conservation awareness. 1. Education and outreach programs. One of the most effective ways to promote conservation awareness is through education and outreach programs. These programs can be targeted towards different age groups and communities, aiming to provide knowledge and understanding about the importance of conservation. Here are some key strategies for implementing successful education and outreach programs. School programs. Collaborate with schools to develop curriculum-based conservation programs that educate students about the value of biodiversity, ecosystems, and sustainable practices. These programs can include interactive activities, field trips, and guest lectures from conservation experts. Community workshops. Organize workshops and seminars in local communities to raise awareness about conservation issues. These events can cover topics such as habitat preservation, sustainable agriculture, and climate change. Engage local experts and community leaders to share their knowledge and experiences. Public awareness campaigns. Launch public awareness campaigns through various media channels, including television, radio, social media, and print media. These campaigns can highlight success stories, conservation challenges, and simple actions individuals can take to make a positive impact. 2. Collaboration with conservation organizations. Collaborating with established conservation organizations can significantly amplify the reach and impact of conservation awareness initiatives. By partnering with these organizations, individuals can tap into their expertise, resources, and networks. Here are some ways to collaborate effectively. Joint events and campaigns. Organize joint events, such as workshops, conferences, or fundraising campaigns, in collaboration with conservation organizations. This collaboration can help attract a larger audience and create a stronger impact. Volunteer opportunities. Engage with conservation organizations as a volunteer. By actively participating in their projects and initiatives, individuals can gain first-hand experience and knowledge, which they can then share with others to promote conservation awareness. Partnerships for outreach. Collaborate with conservation organizations to develop outreach materials, such as brochures, posters, or online resources. These materials can be distributed in schools, community centers, and public spaces to raise awareness about conservation issues. 3. Utilizing social media and online platforms. In today's digital age, social media and online platforms have become powerful tools for promoting conservation awareness. These platforms provide a wide-reaching and cost-effective means to engage with a diverse audience. Here are some strategies for utilizing social media and online platforms effectively. Create engaging content. Develop engaging and informative content, such as blog posts, videos, infographics, and podcasts, that highlight conservation success stories, challenges, and practical tips for individuals to contribute to conservation efforts. Collaborate with influencers. Partner with social media influencers, bloggers, and content creators who have a strong following and share similar values. These collaborations can help reach a wider audience and inspire them to take action for conservation. Online campaigns and petitions. Utilize online platforms to launch campaigns and petitions that advocate for specific conservation causes. Encourage individuals to sign and share these petitions to create a collective voice for conservation. 4. Engaging local communities. Engaging local communities is essential for promoting conservation awareness and fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility towards the environment. Here are some strategies to engage local communities effectively. Community events. Organize community events, such as nature walks, cleanup drives, or tree planting activities, to bring people together and create a sense of connection with the natural world. These events can also provide opportunities to educate participants about conservation issues. Collaboration with local leaders. Engage with local leaders, such as community elders, religious leaders, or elected representatives, to advocate for conservation. Their support and influence can help mobilize the community towards conservation action. Support local initiatives. Identify and support local initiatives that promote sustainable practices, such as community gardens, recycling programs, or eco-friendly businesses. By showcasing and supporting these initiatives, individuals can inspire others to adopt similar practices. 5. Engaging youth and future generations. Engaging youth and future generations is crucial for the long-term success of conservation efforts. By instilling a sense of responsibility and love for nature at a young age, we can ensure a sustainable future. Here are some strategies to engage youth effectively. School programs and clubs. Collaborate with schools to establish conservation clubs or environmental programs that empower students to take action for conservation. These programs can include hands-on activities, field trips, and mentorship opportunities. Youth leadership programs. Develop youth leadership programs that provide training and mentorship for young individuals interested in conservation. These programs can equip them with the skills and knowledge to become effective advocates for wildlife preservation. Youth engagement in decision-making. Encourage the participation of youth in decision-making processes related to conservation. This can be done through youth forums, advisory boards, or by involving them in community conservation projects. Promoting conservation awareness is a collective effort that requires the involvement of individuals, communities, organizations, and governments. By implementing these strategies and approaches, individuals can play a vital role in inspiring others to understand, appreciate, and protect our precious wildlife and ecosystems. 9. Conservation and technology. 9.1 Technological innovations in conservation. Technology has become an invaluable tool in the field of conservation, revolutionizing the way we study, monitor, and protect wildlife and ecosystems. From advanced tracking devices to sophisticated data analysis software, technological innovations have greatly enhanced our understanding of the natural world and provided us with new ways to support conservation efforts. In this section, we will explore some of the key technological innovations in conservation and how they are being used to make a positive impact. Tracking and monitoring. One of the most significant advancements in conservation technology is the development of tracking devices that allow researchers to monitor the movements and behaviors of wildlife. GPS collars, for example, have revolutionized our understanding of animal migration patterns, territorial ranges, and habitat preferences. These collars provide real-time data on the location and movement of animals, allowing researchers to track their movements and gain insights into their behavior. In addition to GPS collars, camera traps have also become an essential tool in wildlife monitoring. These motion-activated cameras are strategically placed in the field and capture images or videos of animals as they pass by. Camera traps have proven to be particularly useful in studying elusive and nocturnal species, providing valuable data on their population size, distribution, and behavior. Data analysis and modeling. The vast amount of data collected through tracking devices, camera traps, and other monitoring techniques requires sophisticated analysis to extract meaningful insights. This is where data analysis and modeling software come into play. These tools allow researchers to process and interpret large datasets, identify patterns and trends, and make informed decisions about conservation strategies. For example, Geographic Information Systems (GIS) software enables researchers to analyze spatial data and create detailed maps that highlight areas of high conservation value or identify critical habitats for endangered species. By overlaying different layers of information, such as land cover, climate data, and species distribution, conservationists can identify priority areas for protection and restoration. Conservation drones and robotics. Unmanned aerial vehicles, commonly known as drones, have revolutionized conservation efforts by providing a bird's-eye view of landscapes and ecosystems. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras and sensors can capture detailed aerial imagery, allowing researchers to monitor changes in land cover, detect illegal activities such as poaching or deforestation, and assess the health of ecosystems. In addition to drones, robotics technology is also being used in conservation. For example, underwater robots, or robofish, are used to study marine ecosystems and monitor the health of coral reefs. These robots can collect data on water quality, temperature, and biodiversity, providing valuable insights into the state of marine environments and helping to inform conservation strategies. Citizen science and conservation apps. Technology has also empowered individuals to contribute to conservation efforts through citizen science initiatives and conservation apps. Citizen science projects involve volunteers in collecting data and contributing to scientific research. With the help of smartphones and dedicated apps, anyone can become a citizen scientist by recording observations of wildlife, reporting invasive species, or monitoring environmental changes in their local area. Conservation apps have also emerged as a powerful tool for raising awareness and engaging the public in conservation. These apps provide information about endangered species, conservation projects, and sustainable practices. They may also include features such as interactive maps, educational resources, and opportunities to donate or volunteer for conservation organizations. Conclusion. Technological innovations have opened up new possibilities for supporting wildlife preservation and conservation efforts. From tracking and monitoring devices to data analysis software, drones, and citizen science initiatives, technology has become an indispensable tool in the fight against habitat loss, species extinction, and environmental degradation. By embracing these technological advancements and harnessing their potential, we can make significant strides in protecting and preserving our planet's precious biodiversity. 9.2 Remote sensing and conservation monitoring. Remote sensing and conservation monitoring are powerful tools that have revolutionized the way we study and protect wildlife and ecosystems. By using remote sensing technologies, such as satellites and drones, we can gather valuable data about the Earth's surface and monitor changes in the environment over time. This information is crucial for understanding the impact of human activities on wildlife and ecosystems and for developing effective conservation strategies. Remote sensing and conservation. Remote sensing involves the collection of data about the Earth's surface from a distance, without direct physical contact. This is typically done using satellites, aircraft, or drones equipped with various sensors and cameras. These sensors capture different types of data, such as images, thermal readings, and spectral information, which can be used to analyze and monitor the environment. In the context of conservation, remote sensing plays a vital role in several ways. Habitat mapping. Remote sensing allows us to map and monitor different types of habitats, such as forests, wetlands, and coral reefs. By analyzing satellite images or aerial photographs, we can identify and classify different land cover types, which helps us understand the distribution and extent of various habitats. This information is crucial for identifying areas of high conservation value and prioritizing conservation efforts. Biodiversity monitoring. Remote sensing can also be used to monitor changes in biodiversity. By analyzing satellite images, we can detect changes in vegetation patterns, which can indicate changes in species composition and abundance. For example, a decrease in forest cover may suggest habitat loss and a decline in biodiversity. This information helps conservationists identify areas that require immediate attention and implement appropriate conservation measures. Illegal activities detection. Remote sensing technologies can be used to detect and monitor illegal activities, such as deforestation, poaching, and illegal fishing. By analyzing satellite images or aerial photographs, conservationists can identify areas where illegal activities are taking place and take appropriate action. This helps in enforcing conservation laws and protecting vulnerable wildlife and ecosystems. Climate change monitoring. Remote sensing is instrumental in monitoring the impact of climate change on wildlife and ecosystems. By analyzing satellite images and other remote sensing data, scientists can track changes in temperature, precipitation, and vegetation patterns over time. This information helps us understand how climate change is affecting different ecosystems and species, enabling us to develop strategies for adaptation and mitigation. Conservation monitoring techniques. Remote sensing is just one part of the broader field of conservation monitoring. Conservation monitoring involves the systematic collection and analysis of data to assess the status and trends of wildlife populations, habitats, and ecosystems. It helps us understand the effectiveness of conservation interventions and guides future conservation efforts. Here are some common techniques used in conservation monitoring. Camera traps. Camera traps are widely used to monitor wildlife populations. These devices are equipped with motion sensors and cameras that are triggered when an animal passes by. Camera traps provide valuable information about the presence, abundance, and behavior of different species, including elusive and nocturnal animals. Acoustic monitoring. Acoustic monitoring involves the use of specialized equipment to record and analyze animal sounds. This technique is particularly useful for monitoring vocal species, such as birds, frogs, and marine mammals. By analyzing the recorded sounds, scientists can identify species, track their movements, and assess population trends. GPS tracking. GPS tracking involves attaching small tracking devices to animals to monitor their movements and behavior. These devices record the animal's location at regular intervals, allowing scientists to track their movements and understand their habitat use. GPS tracking is especially useful for studying migratory species and understanding their conservation needs. Population surveys. Population surveys involve counting and estimating the abundance of wildlife populations. This can be done through various methods, such as transect surveys, mark recapture techniques, and aerial surveys. Population surveys provide important information about population size, density, and trends, which helps in assessing the effectiveness of conservation measures. Remote sensing data analysis. Remote sensing data, such as satellite images and aerial photographs, can be analyzed using specialized software to extract valuable information. This includes mapping land cover types, detecting changes in vegetation patterns, and identifying areas of habitat loss or degradation. Remote sensing data analysis provides a comprehensive view of the landscape and helps in identifying conservation priorities. By combining remote sensing technologies with other monitoring techniques, conservationists can gather comprehensive and accurate data about wildlife populations, habitats, and ecosystems. This information is crucial for making informed decisions and implementing effective conservation strategies. In conclusion, remote sensing and conservation monitoring are powerful tools that enable us to study and protect wildlife and ecosystems. By using remote sensing technologies, such as satellites and drones, we can gather valuable data about the Earth's surface and monitor changes in the environment over time. This information is crucial for understanding the impact of human activities on wildlife and ecosystems and for developing effective conservation strategies. Additionally, combining remote sensing with other monitoring techniques, such as camera traps, acoustic monitoring, and population surveys, allows conservationists to gather comprehensive and accurate data about wildlife populations, habitats, and ecosystems. This data is essential for making informed decisions and implementing successful conservation initiatives. 9.3 Conservation drones and robotics. In recent years, technological advancements have revolutionized the field of conservation. One such innovation that has gained significant attention is the use of drones and robotics in conservation efforts. Conservation drones and robotics offer a range of applications that can greatly enhance wildlife preservation and habitat management. This section will explore the various ways in which these technologies are being utilized and their potential for supporting conservation initiatives. The role of conservation drones. Conservation drones, also known as unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs), have become valuable tools for researchers, conservationists, and wildlife managers. These small, remotely operated aircraft can be equipped with a variety of sensors and cameras to collect data and monitor wildlife and ecosystems. Here are some key applications of conservation drones. 1. Wildlife monitoring and research. Conservation drones provide a non-invasive and efficient method for monitoring wildlife populations. Equipped with high-resolution cameras, thermal imaging, and even DNA sampling capabilities, drones can capture valuable data on animal behavior, population size, and distribution. This information is crucial for understanding the health of ecosystems and making informed conservation decisions. 2. Anti-poaching and law enforcement. Illegal wildlife trade and poaching pose significant threats to many endangered species. Conservation drones can aid in anti-poaching efforts by patrolling protected areas and detecting illegal activities. With their ability to cover large areas quickly and access remote locations, drones can help law enforcement agencies identify poachers, track their movements, and gather evidence for prosecution. 3. Habitat mapping and restoration. Conservation drones equipped with advanced imaging technologies, such as lidar, light detection and ranging, can create detailed 3D maps of habitats. These maps provide valuable information for habitat restoration projects, allowing conservationists to identify areas in need of restoration and monitor the progress of restoration efforts over time. Drones can also be used to disperse seeds or plant trees in hard-to-reach areas, aiding in reforestation and habitat rehabilitation. 4. Environmental monitoring. Drones can be deployed to monitor environmental factors such as water quality, air pollution, and deforestation rates. By collecting real-time data on these parameters, conservationists can identify areas of concern and take appropriate action to mitigate environmental degradation. This information is crucial for implementing effective conservation strategies and ensuring the long-term health of ecosystems. Robotics in conservation. In addition to drones, robotics has also found its place in conservation initiatives. Robotic technologies offer unique capabilities that can support various conservation efforts. Here are some examples of how robotics is being used in conservation. 1. Underwater exploration and research. Robotic underwater vehicles, such as remotely operated vehicles (ROVs) and autonomous underwater vehicles (AUVs), enable scientists to explore and study marine ecosystems in greater detail. These robots can dive to great depths, collect samples, and capture high-resolution images and videos of underwater habitats. By providing access to remote and hazardous environments, underwater robotics contributes to our understanding of marine biodiversity and helps in the conservation of fragile ecosystems. 2. Coral reef restoration. Coral reefs are among the most diverse and productive ecosystems on the planet, but they are facing severe threats due to climate change and human activities. Robotic technologies are being used to aid in coral reef restoration efforts. For instance, underwater robots can assist in the transplantation of coral fragments onto damaged reefs, helping to accelerate the recovery process. These robots can also monitor the health of coral reefs and detect early signs of bleaching or disease, allowing for timely intervention. 3. Invasive species management. Invasive species can have devastating effects on native ecosystems, often outcompeting native species and disrupting ecological balance. Robotics can assist in the management of invasive species by deploying autonomous robots to detect and remove invasive plants or animals. These robots can navigate challenging terrains, identify target species using computer vision, and apply targeted control measures, minimizing the impact on native biodiversity. 4. Precision agriculture and wildlife-friendly farming. Robotics is also being employed in agriculture to promote sustainable and wildlife-friendly farming practices. Autonomous robots equipped with sensors and cameras can monitor crop health, detect pests, and apply precise amounts of fertilizers or pesticides, reducing the environmental impact of agriculture. Additionally, robots can help farmers implement wildlife-friendly practices, such as creating habitat corridors or using scare robots to deter crop-raiding animals, thus minimizing conflicts between agriculture and wildlife conservation. Challenges and considerations. While conservation drones and robotics offer immense potential, there are several challenges and considerations that need to be addressed. 1. Cost and accessibility. The initial investment and ongoing maintenance costs of drones and robotics can be significant, limiting their accessibility to smaller conservation organizations or communities with limited resources. Efforts should be made to make these technologies more affordable and accessible to ensure widespread adoption. 2. Ethical and legal considerations. The use of drones and robotics in conservation raises ethical and legal questions. Privacy concerns, potential disturbance to wildlife, and adherence to aviation regulations are some of the issues that need to be carefully addressed. Guidelines and regulations should be developed to ensure responsible and ethical use of these technologies. 3. Technological limitations. As with any technology, drones and robotics have their limitations. Factors such as battery life, flight range, and payload capacity can impact their effectiveness and efficiency. Continued research and development are necessary to overcome these limitations and improve the capabilities of these technologies. 4. Integration with traditional conservation methods. Conservation drones and robotics should be seen as complementary tools rather than replacements for traditional conservation methods. Integrating these technologies with existing approaches, such as field surveys and community engagement, can enhance the overall effectiveness of conservation initiatives. In conclusion, conservation drones and robotics have the potential to revolutionize wildlife preservation and habitat management. From wildlife monitoring and anti-poaching efforts to habitat restoration and environmental monitoring, these technologies offer valuable tools for conservationists. However, it is important to address the challenges and considerations associated with their use to ensure responsible and effective implementation. By harnessing the power of technology, we can enhance our conservation efforts and work towards a sustainable future for wildlife and ecosystems. 9.4 Citizen Science and Conservation Apps. Citizen science is a powerful tool that allows individuals to actively contribute to scientific research and conservation efforts. By engaging the public in data collection and analysis, citizen science projects harness the collective power of many to address complex environmental challenges. In recent years, the rise of smartphones and mobile applications has made it even easier for people to participate in citizen science initiatives. Conservation apps have emerged as a convenient and accessible way for individuals to contribute to scientific research, monitor wildlife populations, and support conservation efforts. The power of citizen science. Citizen science has revolutionized the way scientists collect data and understand the natural world. By involving the public in scientific research, citizen science projects can gather vast amounts of data that would be impossible for researchers to collect on their own. This data can provide valuable insights into the distribution and abundance of species, the impact of environmental changes, and the effectiveness of conservation strategies. Citizen science also has numerous benefits for participants. It allows individuals to connect with nature, learn about scientific processes, and contribute to meaningful conservation efforts. By engaging in citizen science, people can develop a deeper understanding and appreciation for the natural world, fostering a sense of stewardship and responsibility towards the environment. Conservation apps, a new frontier. With the widespread use of smartphones, conservation organizations and researchers have developed a range of mobile applications to engage the public in citizen science. These apps provide users with the tools and resources to contribute to scientific research and conservation efforts, right from the palm of their hand. Here are some examples of popular conservation apps. 1. iNaturalist. iNaturalist is a widely used app that allows users to document and share observations of plants and animals. Users can take photos, record audio, and make notes about their observations, which are then uploaded to the iNaturalist database. The app uses image recognition technology to help identify species, making it accessible to both experts and beginners. The data collected through iNaturalist contributes to scientific research and helps monitor biodiversity around the world. 2. eBird. eBird is a birding app developed by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It enables birdwatchers to record their sightings, create checklists, and contribute to global bird population monitoring efforts. The data collected through eBird helps scientists track bird populations, migration patterns, and habitat changes. It also provides valuable information for conservation planning and decision-making. 3. Whale Alert. Whale Alert is an app designed to reduce collisions between ships and whales. It uses real-time data on whale sightings and ship locations to provide mariners with information about areas where whales are present. By alerting ships to the presence of whales, the app helps prevent accidental collisions and protects these magnificent marine creatures. 4. iSeahorse. iSeahorse is an app developed by Project Seahorse, a marine conservation organization. It allows users to report seahorse sightings and contribute to global seahorse research and conservation efforts. The data collected through iSeahorse helps scientists understand seahorse populations, identify critical habitats, and develop effective conservation strategies. 5. Frog ID. Frog ID is an app developed by the Australian Museum that enables users to record and identify frog calls. By collecting audio recordings of frog calls, the app helps scientists monitor frog populations and track changes in their distribution. This information is crucial for understanding the health of ecosystems and implementing conservation measures to protect amphibians. Getting involved with conservation apps. Using conservation apps is a simple and effective way to support conservation initiatives. Here are some steps you can take to get involved. Download and explore. Start by downloading one or more conservation apps that align with your interests. Take some time to explore the features and familiarize yourself with how the app works. Contribute data. Use the app to record observations, take photos, or make audio recordings of the species you encounter. Follow the app's guidelines for data collection and ensure the accuracy of your observations. Learn and engage. Take advantage of the educational resources provided within the app. Learn about the species you encounter, their ecological importance, and the conservation challenges they face. Engage with the app's community by sharing your observations, asking questions, and participating in discussions. Spread the word, share your experiences and the importance of conservation apps with your friends, family, and social networks. Encourage others to download and use these apps to contribute to scientific research and conservation efforts. Support conservation organizations. Many conservation apps are developed and maintained by nonprofit organizations. Consider making a donation or volunteering your time to support these organizations' broader conservation initiatives. By participating in citizen science through conservation apps, you can make a meaningful contribution to scientific research, conservation efforts, and the protection of our natural world. Embrace the power of technology and join the growing community of citizen scientists working towards a sustainable future. 10. Conservation and indigenous communities. 10.1 Indigenous knowledge and conservation. Indigenous communities have a deep connection to the land and possess a wealth of traditional knowledge that can greatly contribute to conservation efforts. This section explores the importance of indigenous knowledge and conservation and how collaboration with indigenous communities can lead to more effective and sustainable conservation initiatives. The value of indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge refers to the accumulated knowledge, practices, and beliefs developed by indigenous peoples over generations. This knowledge is often rooted in a deep understanding of the local environment, including the behavior of wildlife, the seasonal patterns of plants, and the ecological relationships within ecosystems. Indigenous communities have relied on this knowledge to sustainably manage their lands and resources for centuries. One of the key contributions of indigenous knowledge to conservation is its holistic approach. Indigenous communities view the environment as an interconnected system, where every living being has a role and is interconnected with others. This perspective recognizes the importance of maintaining the balance and harmony of ecosystems for the well-being of all species, including humans. Indigenous knowledge also offers insights into sustainable resource management practices. Traditional practices such as rotational grazing, controlled burning, and selective harvesting have been used by indigenous communities to ensure the long-term health and productivity of ecosystems. These practices promote biodiversity, enhance soil fertility, and minimize the negative impacts on wildlife populations. Collaborative conservation with indigenous communities. Collaborating with indigenous communities is essential for successful conservation initiatives. By involving indigenous peoples in decision-making processes, their knowledge and perspectives can be integrated into conservation strategies, leading to more effective and culturally appropriate approaches. One way to foster collaboration is through the establishment of partnerships between conservation organizations and indigenous communities. These partnerships should be based on mutual respect, trust, and shared goals. It is crucial to recognize and respect indigenous rights, including their rights to land, resources, and self-determination. Indigenous communities should be actively involved in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of conservation projects that affect their territories. Engaging indigenous communities in conservation can also help address social and economic challenges. Many indigenous communities face poverty, marginalization, and limited access to basic services. Conservation initiatives that provide opportunities for sustainable livelihoods, such as ecotourism, sustainable agriculture, or traditional crafts, can contribute to the well-being of indigenous communities while promoting conservation goals. Indigenous knowledge and scientific research. Integrating indigenous knowledge with scientific research can lead to a more comprehensive understanding of ecosystems and enhance conservation efforts. Indigenous knowledge can provide valuable insights and guide scientific research by identifying key species, understanding ecological processes, and identifying areas of high conservation value. Collaborative research projects that involve indigenous communities and scientists can bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and scientific knowledge. This approach respects and values both forms of knowledge, recognizing that they can complement each other. By combining indigenous knowledge with scientific data, conservation practitioners can develop more effective strategies for protecting biodiversity and ecosystems. Challenges and considerations. While collaboration with indigenous communities offers significant opportunities for conservation, it is essential to address potential challenges and considerations. Some of these challenges include respecting cultural protocols. Indigenous communities have their own protocols, customs, and traditional practices. It is crucial to respect and adhere to these protocols when working with indigenous communities. Ensuring equitable partnerships. Power imbalances and historical injustices can affect the dynamics of collaboration. It is important to ensure that partnerships are based on equity, with indigenous communities having an equal say in decision-making processes. Protecting intellectual property. Indigenous knowledge is often passed down orally and is considered the collective property of the community. It is essential to respect intellectual property rights and obtain informed consent when using indigenous knowledge in conservation initiatives. Building capacity and empowering communities. Supporting capacity-building initiatives within indigenous communities can enhance their ability to actively participate in conservation efforts. This includes providing training, resources, and opportunities for leadership development. Recognizing diverse perspectives. Indigenous communities are not homogeneous, and their perspectives on conservation may vary. It is important to engage with a range of voices within indigenous communities and respect their diverse perspectives and priorities. In conclusion, indigenous knowledge is a valuable resource for conservation. Collaborating with indigenous communities can lead to more effective and sustainable conservation initiatives by integrating traditional knowledge, promoting cultural resilience, and addressing social and economic challenges. By recognizing and respecting indigenous rights and engaging in equitable partnerships, conservation practitioners can work towards a more inclusive and holistic approach to conservation. 10.2 Collaborative conservation with indigenous communities. Indigenous communities have a deep connection to the land and have been practicing sustainable resource management for centuries. Collaborating with these communities is crucial for effective conservation efforts. By working together, we can combine traditional knowledge with modern conservation practices to protect and preserve our natural resources. This section will explore the importance of collaborative conservation with indigenous communities and provide practical ways to support these initiatives. Understanding the importance of collaboration. Collaborating with indigenous communities is essential for several reasons. First and foremost, these communities have a wealth of traditional knowledge and practices that have sustained their lands and resources for generations. Their deep understanding of the environment and its interconnectedness can provide valuable insights into conservation strategies. Furthermore, indigenous communities often have a strong spiritual and cultural connection to the land. By involving them in conservation initiatives, we can ensure that their cultural heritage and traditional practices are respected and preserved. This collaboration also helps to empower indigenous communities, giving them a voice in decision-making processes that affect their lands and resources. Building trust and respect. Before engaging in collaborative conservation efforts, it is crucial to build trust and establish respectful relationships with indigenous communities. This involves recognizing and acknowledging their rights, cultural practices, and traditional knowledge. It is essential to approach these collaborations with humility, openness, and a willingness to learn from indigenous communities. To build trust, it is important to engage in open and honest communication. This means actively listening to the concerns and perspectives of indigenous community members and incorporating their input into conservation plans. It is also crucial to ensure that any benefits resulting from conservation initiatives are shared equitably with the community. Supporting indigenous-led conservation initiatives. There are several ways individuals and organizations can support indigenous-led conservation initiatives. Financial support. Providing financial resources to indigenous communities can help them implement their conservation projects. This can include funding for land management, habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, and capacity building initiatives. Capacity building. Offering training and capacity building programs can empower indigenous communities to take a more active role in conservation. This can include providing technical skills, scientific knowledge, and project management training. Collaborative research. Engaging in collaborative research projects with indigenous communities can help bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and scientific research. This can lead to more effective conservation strategies and a deeper understanding of the environment. Advocacy and policy support. Supporting indigenous communities in their advocacy efforts can help amplify their voices and ensure that their rights and interests are protected. This can involve advocating for policy changes, supporting land rights initiatives, and raising awareness about indigenous conservation practices. Cultural exchange and education. Promoting cultural exchange and education between indigenous communities and the wider public can foster understanding and appreciation for indigenous knowledge and conservation practices. This can be done through workshops, cultural events, and educational programs. Partnerships and collaboration. Building partnerships between indigenous communities, conservation organizations, and government agencies can create a more holistic and inclusive approach to conservation. By working together, these stakeholders can pool their resources, knowledge, and expertise to achieve common conservation goals. Examples of collaborative conservation with indigenous communities. There are numerous successful examples of collaborative conservation initiatives with indigenous communities around the world. One such example is the Gunayala Indigenous Territory in Panama. The Guna people have implemented a community-based marine conservation program that combines traditional fishing practices with modern conservation techniques. Through their efforts, they have successfully protected their coral reefs and marine biodiversity while ensuring sustainable livelihoods for their community members. Another example is the Indigenous Protected and Conserved Areas (IPCAs) in Canada. These areas are managed and governed by indigenous communities, who use their traditional knowledge and practices to protect and conserve their lands and resources. The IPCAs not only contribute to biodiversity conservation but also provide economic opportunities for indigenous communities through sustainable tourism and cultural activities. Conclusion. Collaborative conservation with indigenous communities is essential for effective and sustainable conservation efforts. By recognizing and respecting indigenous rights, traditional knowledge, and cultural practices, we can work together to protect and preserve our natural resources. Supporting indigenous-led conservation initiatives through financial resources, capacity building, research collaboration, advocacy, and partnerships can help create a more inclusive and holistic approach to conservation. By embracing the wisdom of indigenous communities, we can ensure a brighter future for both wildlife and humanity. 10.3 Conservation and indigenous rights. Indigenous communities have a deep connection to the land and have been practicing sustainable resource management for centuries. Their traditional knowledge and practices play a crucial role in conservation efforts. However, indigenous communities often face challenges in protecting their rights and maintaining their traditional practices in the face of modern development and conservation initiatives. It is essential to recognize and respect the rights of indigenous communities in conservation efforts to ensure their active participation and the long-term success of conservation initiatives. Understanding indigenous rights. Indigenous rights are the collective and individual rights of indigenous peoples, based on their unique cultural, social, economic, and political circumstances. These rights are recognized internationally and protected under various legal frameworks, such as the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples (UNDRIP) and International Labour Organization (ILO) Convention No. 169. Some key aspects of indigenous rights include land and resource rights. Indigenous communities have the right to own, use, and control their traditional lands, territories, and resources. This includes the right to participate in decision-making processes regarding the use and management of natural resources. Cultural rights. Indigenous communities have the right to maintain, protect, and develop their cultural heritage, traditional knowledge, and practices. This includes the right to practice their traditional livelihoods and engage in cultural activities. Free, prior, and informed consent (FPIC). Indigenous communities have the right to give or withhold their consent to any project or activity that may affect their lands, resources, or cultural heritage. FPIC ensures that indigenous communities have the power to make informed decisions and have their voices heard in matters that affect them. The importance of indigenous rights in conservation. Recognizing and respecting indigenous rights is crucial for effective and sustainable conservation. Indigenous communities have a deep understanding of their local ecosystems and have developed sustainable practices that have allowed them to coexist with nature for generations. Their traditional knowledge can contribute significantly to conservation efforts, including habitat restoration, sustainable resource management, and biodiversity conservation. By involving indigenous communities in conservation initiatives and respecting their rights, the following benefits can be achieved. Enhanced conservation outcomes. Indigenous communities' traditional knowledge and practices can contribute to more effective conservation strategies. Their intimate understanding of the land and ecosystems can help identify key conservation areas, restore degraded habitats, and protect endangered species. Sustainable resource management. Indigenous communities have a long history of sustainable resource management. By recognizing their rights and supporting their traditional practices, conservation initiatives can promote sustainable agriculture, fishing, hunting, and gathering techniques that maintain biodiversity and ecosystem health. Cultural preservation. Indigenous cultures are deeply intertwined with the natural world. By respecting indigenous rights, conservation initiatives can help preserve cultural diversity and prevent the loss of traditional knowledge and practices. Social justice and equity. Recognizing indigenous rights in conservation efforts promotes social justice and equity. It acknowledges the historical injustices faced by indigenous communities and ensures their active participation and decision-making power in matters that affect their lands and resources. Principles for supporting indigenous rights in conservation. To support indigenous rights in conservation initiatives, the following principles should be considered. Recognition and respect. Indigenous communities' rights, traditional knowledge, and practices should be recognized and respected. This includes acknowledging their land and resource rights, cultural heritage, and the importance of their participation in decision-making processes. Partnership and collaboration. Conservation initiatives should be developed and implemented in partnership with indigenous communities. Meaningful collaboration ensures that indigenous perspectives, knowledge, and practices are integrated into conservation strategies. Free, prior, and informed consent. Indigenous communities should be provided with all relevant information and given the opportunity to give or withhold their consent to conservation projects or activities that may affect their lands, resources, or cultural heritage. Capacity building and empowerment. Conservation initiatives should support capacity building efforts within indigenous communities. This includes providing training, resources, and opportunities for indigenous peoples to actively participate in conservation activities and decision-making processes. Equitable benefit sharing. Conservation initiatives should ensure that indigenous communities benefit equitably from the outcomes of conservation efforts. This can include providing economic opportunities, supporting cultural revitalization, and promoting social development within indigenous communities. Conflict resolution and grievance mechanisms. Mechanisms should be in place to address conflicts and grievances that may arise between conservation initiatives and indigenous communities. These mechanisms should be fair, transparent, and culturally appropriate. By incorporating these principles into conservation initiatives, we can ensure that indigenous rights are respected, traditional knowledge is valued, and conservation efforts are more effective and sustainable. It is essential to work in partnership with indigenous communities to achieve shared conservation goals while upholding their rights and preserving their cultural heritage. 10.4 Traditional practices for sustainable resource use. Indigenous communities have a deep connection with the natural world and have developed traditional practices that promote sustainable resource use. These practices have been passed down through generations and have proven to be effective in maintaining the balance between human needs and the preservation of ecosystems. By supporting and learning from these traditional practices, we can contribute to conservation efforts and promote sustainable resource use. 10.4.1 Traditional ecological knowledge. Indigenous communities possess a wealth of knowledge about their local ecosystems, which has been accumulated over centuries of living in harmony with nature. This knowledge, known as traditional ecological knowledge tech, encompasses a deep understanding of the relationships between different species, the seasonal patterns, and the ecological processes that sustain the environment. Tech provides valuable insights into sustainable resource management. Indigenous communities have developed practices that ensure the long-term availability of resources while minimizing negative impacts on the environment. For example, they may have traditional harvesting techniques that allow for the regeneration of plant populations or fishing practices that avoid overexploitation of fish stocks. 10.4.2 Supporting Indigenous Practices. Supporting traditional practices for sustainable resource use involves recognizing and respecting the rights and knowledge of indigenous communities. Here are some ways in which you can contribute. Collaboration and partnership. Engage in collaborative partnerships with indigenous communities. This can involve working together on conservation projects, sharing knowledge, and supporting their initiatives. By involving indigenous communities in decision-making processes, their traditional practices can be integrated into conservation strategies. Education and awareness. Promote awareness and understanding of indigenous cultures and their traditional practices. This can be done through educational programs, workshops, and cultural exchanges. By learning about indigenous practices, we can gain a deeper appreciation for their wisdom and contribute to the preservation of their knowledge. Respecting indigenous rights. Advocate for the recognition and protection of indigenous rights. Indigenous communities often face challenges such as land encroachment, resource exploitation, and cultural assimilation. Supporting their rights to land, self-determination, and cultural preservation is essential for the continuation of their traditional practices. Economic empowerment. Support indigenous communities by purchasing products and services that are produced sustainably and in accordance with their traditional practices. This can include buying handmade crafts, organic food, or participating in ecotourism initiatives that are led by indigenous communities. Policy and advocacy. Advocate for policies that recognize and protect indigenous rights and traditional practices. Support legislation that promotes the inclusion of indigenous knowledge in conservation planning and decision-making processes. By advocating for the integration of traditional practices into conservation policies, we can ensure the long-term sustainability of natural resources. 10.4.3 Examples of traditional practices. Indigenous communities around the world have developed a wide range of traditional practices for sustainable resource use. Here are a few examples. Agroforestry. Indigenous communities often practice agroforestry, which involves the cultivation of crops alongside trees. This approach promotes biodiversity, soil conservation, and sustainable agriculture. Territorial management. Many indigenous communities have traditional systems of territorial management that regulate access to resources. These systems ensure that resources are used sustainably and that the needs of future generations are considered. Fire management. Indigenous communities have long used controlled burning techniques to manage landscapes. These practices help maintain healthy ecosystems, prevent wildfires, and promote the growth of certain plant species. Traditional fishing practices. Indigenous communities have developed fishing techniques that minimize the impact on fish populations and their habitats. These practices often involve using specific nets, traps, or fishing seasons to allow for the reproduction and growth of fish stocks. Medicinal plant harvesting. Indigenous communities have extensive knowledge of medicinal plants and their sustainable harvesting. They have developed practices that ensure the regeneration of plant populations and the preservation of biodiversity. 10.4.4 Learning from indigenous communities. Learning from indigenous communities and their traditional practices is crucial for promoting sustainable resource use. By recognizing the value of their knowledge and incorporating it into conservation efforts, we can create a more holistic and effective approach to conservation. It is important to approach this learning process with respect, humility, and a willingness to listen and learn. Engage in meaningful dialogue with indigenous communities, seek their guidance, and be open to incorporating their perspectives into conservation initiatives. By supporting and learning from traditional practices, we can contribute to the preservation of biodiversity, the sustainable use of resources, and the empowerment of indigenous communities. Together, we can create a more sustainable and harmonious relationship with the natural world. 11. Conservation and corporate responsibility. 11.1 The role of businesses in conservation. Businesses play a crucial role in conservation efforts around the world. As major contributors to environmental degradation, they also have the power to make a positive impact on wildlife preservation and ecosystem protection. By adopting sustainable practices, supporting conservation initiatives, and collaborating with conservation organizations, businesses can contribute to the long-term health and well-being of our planet. In this section, we will explore the various ways in which businesses can get involved in conservation and make a difference. Corporate social responsibility. One of the primary ways businesses can support conservation is through the implementation of corporate social responsibility (CSR) programs. CSR refers to a company's commitment to operating in an economically, socially, and environmentally responsible manner. By integrating sustainability into their core business practices, companies can minimize their negative impact on the environment and actively contribute to conservation efforts. CSR programs can take various forms, including environmental sustainability. businesses can reduce their ecological footprint by implementing energy-efficient practices, minimizing waste generation, and adopting sustainable sourcing and production methods. This includes using renewable energy sources, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and promoting recycling and waste reduction. Conservation partnerships. Businesses can form partnerships with conservation organizations to support specific projects or initiatives. This can involve financial contributions, in-kind donations, or employee volunteer programs. By collaborating with experts in the field, businesses can leverage their resources and expertise to make a meaningful impact on conservation efforts. Education and awareness. Businesses can play a vital role in raising awareness about conservation issues among their employees, customers, and stakeholders. This can be done through educational campaigns, workshops, and public outreach programs. By promoting environmental stewardship and encouraging sustainable practices, businesses can inspire positive change within their communities. Supply chain management. Businesses can ensure that their supply chains are environmentally responsible by working with suppliers who adhere to sustainable practices. This includes sourcing materials from sustainable sources, promoting fair trade, and minimizing the use of harmful chemicals or materials. By encouraging sustainable practices throughout their supply chains, businesses can help protect ecosystems and wildlife habitats. Partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations. Collaboration between conservation organizations and businesses is a powerful tool for achieving conservation goals. By working together, these entities can combine their resources, expertise, and influence to address pressing environmental challenges. Partnerships can take various forms, including funding and sponsorship. Businesses can provide financial support to conservation organizations through donations, grants, or sponsorship of specific projects. This funding can help conservation organizations carry out research, implement conservation programs, and protect critical habitats. Employee engagement. Many businesses encourage their employees to get involved in conservation efforts by offering volunteer opportunities or organizing team-building activities centered around environmental stewardship. This not only benefits the conservation cause but also fosters a sense of purpose and engagement among employees. Shared expertise. Businesses can share their expertise in areas such as technology, marketing, and management with conservation organizations. This can help conservation organizations improve their operational efficiency, enhance their outreach efforts, and leverage technology for conservation monitoring and research. Advocacy and policy influence. Businesses often have significant influence on policymakers and can use their voice to advocate for stronger environmental regulations and conservation policies. By leveraging their economic and political power, businesses can help shape policies that promote sustainable practices and protect natural resources. Sustainable business practices. In addition to supporting conservation initiatives, businesses can adopt sustainable practices that minimize their impact on the environment. Some key sustainable business practices include energy efficiency. Implementing energy-efficient technologies and practices can significantly reduce a business's carbon footprint. This includes using energy-efficient lighting, optimizing heating and cooling systems, and investing in renewable energy sources. Waste reduction and recycling. Businesses can minimize waste generation by implementing recycling programs, reducing packaging waste, and encouraging the use of reusable materials. This not only reduces environmental impact but can also lead to cost savings. Water conservation. Businesses can conserve water by implementing water-efficient technologies, such as low-flow fixtures and water recycling systems. Additionally, they can raise awareness among employees about the importance of water conservation and encourage responsible water use. Sustainable procurement. Businesses can prioritize sourcing materials and products from suppliers who adhere to sustainable practices. This includes considering factors such as environmental impact, fair trade, and ethical sourcing. By adopting sustainable business practices, supporting conservation initiatives, and collaborating with conservation organizations, businesses can play a significant role in protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems. Through their actions, businesses can demonstrate that economic growth and environmental stewardship can go hand in hand, creating a more sustainable future for all. 11.2 Corporate Social Responsibility Programs. Corporate social responsibility (CSR) programs have become an increasingly important aspect of business operations in recent years. These programs allow companies to contribute to social and environmental causes, including conservation initiatives. By integrating conservation into their CSR programs, businesses can make a significant positive impact on wildlife preservation and environmental sustainability. In this section, we will explore the various ways in which companies can support conservation through their CSR programs. Understanding corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility refers to a company's commitment to operating in an ethical and sustainable manner, taking into account the impact of its activities on society and the environment. CSR programs are designed to go beyond profit-making and focus on creating a positive social and environmental impact. By incorporating conservation initiatives into their CSR strategies, companies can contribute to the protection and preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. Benefits of corporate social responsibility programs for conservation. Integrating conservation initiatives into CSR programs can bring numerous benefits for both companies and the environment. Some of the key benefits include positive brand image. By actively supporting conservation initiatives, companies can enhance their brand image and reputation. Consumers are increasingly conscious of environmental issues and are more likely to support businesses that demonstrate a commitment to sustainability and conservation. Employee engagement and retention. CSR programs that involve conservation initiatives can boost employee morale and engagement. Employees are more likely to feel proud of working for a company that contributes to meaningful causes, leading to increased job satisfaction and retention. Stakeholder satisfaction. Conservation-focused CSR programs can also help companies build stronger relationships with stakeholders, including customers, investors, and local communities. By demonstrating a commitment to environmental sustainability, companies can gain the trust and support of these stakeholders. Long-term business sustainability. Conservation initiatives can contribute to the long-term sustainability of a company's operations. By protecting natural resources and ecosystems, businesses can ensure the availability of essential resources for their own operations and future generations. Types of conservation initiatives in CSR programs. There are several ways in which companies can incorporate conservation initiatives into their CSR programs. Some of the most effective approaches include financial support. Companies can provide financial support to conservation organizations and projects. This can include funding research and conservation programs, sponsoring wildlife reserves, or supporting the restoration of degraded habitats. Employee volunteering. Encouraging employees to volunteer their time and skills for conservation projects is another effective way for companies to support wildlife preservation. This can involve organizing volunteer days, where employees participate in activities such as habitat restoration, wildlife monitoring, or environmental education programs. Partnerships with conservation organizations. Collaborating with established conservation organizations can amplify the impact of a company's CSR initiatives. By partnering with these organizations, companies can leverage their expertise and resources to implement effective conservation projects. Promoting sustainable practices. Companies can integrate sustainable practices into their operations to minimize their environmental footprint. This can include adopting renewable energy sources, reducing waste and pollution, and implementing sustainable supply chain practices. Best practices for implementing conservation initiatives in CSR programs. To ensure the success and effectiveness of conservation initiatives in CSR programs, companies should consider the following best practices. Align with company values. Conservation initiatives should align with a company's core values and business objectives. By integrating conservation into the company's mission and vision, the initiatives are more likely to be embraced by employees and stakeholders. Set measurable goals. Clearly define the goals and objectives of the conservation initiatives. This includes setting measurable targets and timelines to track progress and evaluate the impact of the CSR programs. Engage employees. Involve employees in the planning and implementation of conservation initiatives. This can be done through employee engagement programs, training sessions, and regular communication to foster a sense of ownership and commitment. Transparency and reporting. Maintain transparency in the company's conservation efforts by regularly reporting on progress and outcomes. This helps build trust with stakeholders and demonstrates the company's commitment to accountability. Collaborate with stakeholders. Engage with relevant stakeholders, including conservation organizations, local communities, and government agencies. Collaboration and partnerships can enhance the effectiveness and reach of conservation initiatives. Continuous improvement. Regularly review and evaluate the impact of conservation initiatives to identify areas for improvement. This can involve seeking feedback from stakeholders, conducting impact assessments, and adapting strategies accordingly. By incorporating conservation initiatives into their CSR programs, companies can play a vital role in supporting wildlife preservation and environmental sustainability. These initiatives not only benefit the environment but also contribute to the long-term success and reputation of businesses. Through financial support, employee volunteering, partnerships, and sustainable practices, companies can make a significant positive impact on conservation efforts. 11.3 Partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations. Partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations have become increasingly important in the effort to support wildlife preservation and conservation initiatives. These collaborations bring together the resources, expertise, and influence of both sectors to address environmental challenges and promote sustainable practices. By working together, conservation organizations and corporations can make a significant impact on the protection of biodiversity and the preservation of natural habitats. The benefits of partnerships. Partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations offer numerous benefits for both parties involved, as well as for the environment. Here are some key advantages. Leveraging resources. Conservation organizations often face financial constraints and limited resources. By partnering with corporations, they can access additional funding, technical expertise, and logistical support. This allows them to expand their conservation efforts and implement more effective strategies. Scale and reach. Corporations have extensive networks, customer bases, and marketing capabilities. By collaborating with conservation organizations, they can raise awareness about environmental issues and promote sustainable practices to a wider audience. This increased reach can lead to greater public engagement and support for conservation initiatives. Innovation and technology. Corporations are often at the forefront of technological advancements and innovation. By partnering with conservation organizations, they can contribute their expertise in areas such as remote sensing, data analysis, and sustainable practices. This collaboration can lead to the development of innovative solutions for conservation challenges. Shared goals and values. Many corporations recognize the importance of environmental sustainability and social responsibility. By partnering with conservation organizations, they can align their business goals with conservation objectives, demonstrating their commitment to environmental stewardship. This alignment of values can enhance the reputation and credibility of both the corporation and the conservation organization. Types of partnerships. Partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations can take various forms, depending on the goals and needs of both parties. Here are some common types of collaborations. Financial support. Corporations can provide financial support through grants, sponsorships, or donations to conservation organizations. This funding can be used to support research, conservation projects, education programs, or capacity-building initiatives. In-kind support. Corporations can contribute in-kind support by providing goods or services that are essential for conservation efforts. This can include equipment, technology, expertise, or logistical support. Employee engagement. Many corporations encourage their employees to get involved in conservation initiatives through volunteer programs or skills-based volunteering. This allows employees to contribute their expertise and time to conservation projects, while also fostering a sense of corporate social responsibility. Joint research and development. Conservation organizations and corporations can collaborate on research and development projects to find innovative solutions for conservation challenges. This can involve sharing scientific knowledge, conducting joint studies, or developing new technologies or practices. Advocacy and policy influence. By joining forces, conservation organizations and corporations can advocate for stronger environmental policies and regulations. They can use their combined influence to promote sustainable practices, raise awareness about conservation issues, and lobby for positive change at local, national, and international levels. Successful examples. Numerous successful partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations have demonstrated the positive impact that can be achieved through collaboration. Here are a few notable examples. The Conservation International and Starbucks Partnership. Conservation International and Starbucks have partnered to promote sustainable coffee production. Through this collaboration, they have worked together to develop the Coffee and Farmer Equity (CAFE) practices, which ensure that coffee is sourced responsibly and produced in a way that protects biodiversity and supports the livelihoods of coffee farmers. The World Wildlife Fund (WWF) and the Coca-Cola Company Partnership. The WWF and the Coca-Cola Company have joined forces to address water scarcity and promote sustainable water management. Through this partnership, they have implemented water stewardship projects in various regions, focusing on replenishing water sources, improving water quality, and conserving freshwater ecosystems. The Wildlife Conservation Society (WCS) and Chevron Partnership. The WCS and Chevron have collaborated to protect critical habitats and biodiversity in areas where Chevron operates. This partnership has supported conservation initiatives in countries such as Papua New Guinea, Nigeria, and the United States, focusing on preserving wildlife, promoting sustainable livelihoods, and mitigating the impacts of oil and gas operations. Key considerations. When establishing partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations, it is important to consider the following. Shared values and goals. Both parties should have a shared vision and commitment to conservation. It is essential to ensure that the partnership aligns with the mission and values of the conservation organization and the corporate entity. Transparency and accountability. Clear communication, transparency, and accountability are crucial for the success of any partnership. Both parties should establish mechanisms for monitoring and evaluating the progress and impact of their collaborative efforts. Long-term commitment. Conservation challenges require long-term solutions. Partnerships should be built on a foundation of long-term commitment and mutual trust. This allows for sustained efforts and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Balancing interests. It is important to strike a balance between the conservation objectives and the business interests of the corporate partner. The partnership should be mutually beneficial, ensuring that both parties derive value from the collaboration. By forging partnerships between conservation organizations and corporations, we can harness the collective power of these sectors to address environmental challenges and support wildlife preservation. These collaborations have the potential to drive positive change, promote sustainable practices, and create a more harmonious relationship between business and the natural world. 11.4 Sustainable business practices for conservation. In recent years, there has been a growing recognition of the role that businesses can play in supporting conservation initiatives. Sustainable business practices not only benefit the environment but also contribute to the long-term success of companies. By integrating conservation into their operations, businesses can make a positive impact on biodiversity, ecosystems, and local communities. In this section, we will explore some sustainable business practices that can support conservation efforts. 1. Adopting environmental management systems. One of the first steps businesses can take towards sustainable practices is to implement an environmental management system (EMS). and EMS provides a framework for identifying, managing, and reducing the environmental impacts of business operations. By conducting regular environmental audits and setting targets for improvement, companies can minimize their ecological footprint and contribute to conservation goals. This may involve reducing energy and water consumption, minimizing waste generation, and implementing recycling programs. 2. Investing in renewable energy. Transitioning to renewable energy sources is another way businesses can support conservation. By investing in solar, wind, or hydroelectric power, companies can reduce their reliance on fossil fuels and decrease greenhouse gas emissions. Renewable energy not only helps combat climate change but also reduces air and water pollution, benefiting both wildlife and human communities. Additionally, businesses can explore energy-efficient technologies and practices to further minimize their environmental impact. 3. Sustainable supply chain management. Businesses can have a significant impact on conservation through their supply chain management practices. By working with suppliers who adhere to sustainable practices, companies can ensure that the products they use or sell are sourced responsibly. This may involve verifying that suppliers do not engage in activities such as illegal logging, overfishing, or habitat destruction. By promoting sustainable sourcing, businesses can help protect ecosystems and support the livelihoods of local communities. 4. Supporting local communities. Conservation efforts are often closely linked to the well-being of local communities. Businesses can support conservation by engaging with and investing in these communities. This can be done through partnerships with local organizations, providing employment opportunities, or supporting community development projects. By empowering local communities, businesses can contribute to the sustainable management of natural resources and foster a sense of stewardship towards the environment. 5. Promoting biodiversity conservation. Businesses can play a crucial role in protecting and restoring biodiversity. This can be achieved by incorporating biodiversity considerations into land use planning and development projects. By conducting biodiversity assessments and implementing measures to minimize impacts on ecosystems and species, businesses can contribute to the conservation of biodiversity hotspots. Additionally, companies can support habitat restoration initiatives and engage in the protection of endangered species through partnerships with conservation organizations. 6. Engaging in conservation research and innovation. Businesses can support conservation by investing in research and innovation. By funding scientific studies and technological advancements, companies can contribute to the understanding and conservation of ecosystems and species. This may involve supporting research projects focused on biodiversity monitoring, habitat restoration techniques, or sustainable agriculture practices. By promoting innovation, businesses can help develop solutions to conservation challenges and drive positive change. 7. Communicating and educating. Businesses have the opportunity to raise awareness about conservation issues and inspire action among their employees, customers, and stakeholders. By communicating their commitment to sustainability and sharing information about conservation initiatives, companies can encourage others to get involved. This can be done through educational campaigns, sustainability reports, or partnerships with environmental organizations. By fostering a culture of conservation, businesses can create a ripple effect and inspire others to take action. 8. Engaging in volunteering and philanthropy. In addition to integrating sustainable practices into their operations, businesses can also support conservation through volunteering and philanthropy. This may involve organizing employee volunteer programs to participate in conservation activities such as tree planting, beach cleanups, or wildlife monitoring. Furthermore, businesses can contribute financially to conservation organizations or establish their own philanthropic foundations to support conservation projects. By actively engaging in volunteering and philanthropy, businesses can make a tangible difference in conservation efforts. In conclusion, sustainable business practices have the potential to make a significant impact on conservation. By adopting environmental management systems, investing in renewable energy, promoting sustainable supply chain management, supporting local communities, and engaging in conservation research and innovation, businesses can contribute to the preservation of biodiversity and ecosystems. Additionally, by communicating and educating others, as well as engaging in volunteering and philanthropy, businesses can inspire action and create a culture of conservation. It is through the collective efforts of businesses, individuals, and organizations that we can work towards a sustainable future for both wildlife and humanity. 12. Conservation and policy. 12.1 International Conservation Agreements and Treaties. International conservation agreements and treaties play a crucial role in protecting and preserving wildlife and ecosystems on a global scale. These agreements are designed to promote cooperation among nations and establish guidelines for conservation efforts. By participating in and supporting these agreements, individuals and organizations can contribute to the conservation of biodiversity and the sustainable use of natural resources. The importance of international conservation agreements and treaties. Conservation challenges often transcend national boundaries, requiring collaborative efforts to address them effectively. International conservation agreements and treaties provide a framework for countries to work together, share knowledge and resources, and develop common strategies to tackle these challenges. These agreements serve as a platform for negotiation, cooperation, and the establishment of conservation goals and targets. One of the most well-known international conservation agreements is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora (CITES). CITES aims to regulate and monitor the international trade of endangered species and their parts to ensure their survival in the wild. By participating in CITES, countries commit to implementing measures to prevent the exploitation of endangered species and promote their conservation. Another significant agreement is the Convention on Biological Diversity (CBD), which aims to conserve biodiversity, promote sustainable use of natural resources, and ensure the fair and equitable sharing of benefits derived from genetic resources. The CBD provides a framework for countries to develop national strategies and action plans for biodiversity conservation and sustainable development. Getting involved in international conservation agreements and treaties. Individuals and organizations can support international conservation agreements and treaties in various ways. Here are some ways you can get involved. 1. Stay informed. Stay updated on the latest developments in international conservation agreements and treaties. Follow reputable news sources, subscribe to newsletters from conservation organizations, and participate in online forums and discussions. By staying informed, you can better understand the issues at hand and advocate for effective conservation measures. 2. Support conservation organizations. Many conservation organizations actively participate in international conservation agreements and treaties. By supporting these organizations through donations or volunteering, you can indirectly contribute to their efforts in advocating for stronger conservation policies and implementing conservation projects on the ground. 3. Engage in advocacy. Advocacy plays a crucial role in influencing policymakers and decision-makers to prioritize conservation. Write letters or emails to your local representatives, government officials, and international bodies expressing your support for specific conservation agreements and urging them to take action. Participate in public consultations and meetings to voice your concerns and suggestions. 4. Promote sustainable practices. Support and promote sustainable practices in your daily life. Reduce your ecological footprint by conserving energy, minimizing waste, and choosing sustainable products. By adopting sustainable practices, you contribute to the broader goal of conservation and demonstrate the importance of individual actions in protecting the environment. 5. Participate in citizen science. Citizen science initiatives allow individuals to contribute to scientific research and conservation efforts. By participating in projects such as bird counts, wildlife monitoring, or habitat mapping, you can provide valuable data that helps scientists and policymakers make informed decisions. Citizen science platforms and apps make it easy to get involved and contribute to global conservation efforts. 6. Engage in international forums and conferences. Participate in international forums and conferences focused on conservation and sustainable development. These events provide opportunities to learn from experts, share experiences, and network with individuals and organizations working towards similar goals. By actively engaging in these platforms, you can contribute to the discussions and help shape the future of international conservation agreements. Conclusion. International conservation agreements and treaties are essential tools for addressing global conservation challenges. By supporting and participating in these agreements, individuals and organizations can contribute to the preservation of biodiversity, the protection of endangered species, and the sustainable use of natural resources. Whether through staying informed, supporting conservation organizations, engaging in advocacy, promoting sustainable practices, participating in citizen science, or attending international forums, everyone can play a role in supporting international conservation efforts. Together, we can make a significant impact on the future of our planet's wildlife and ecosystems. 12.2 Government Policies for Conservation. Government policies play a crucial role in supporting and promoting conservation initiatives. These policies provide a framework for addressing environmental issues, protecting wildlife and ecosystems, and ensuring sustainable development. In this section, we will explore the importance of government policies for conservation and discuss some key strategies for supporting and influencing these policies. The importance of government policies for conservation. Government policies are essential for conservation efforts because they have the power to shape and regulate human activities that impact the environment. These policies can establish protected areas, set regulations for resource use, promote sustainable practices, and allocate funding for conservation projects. By implementing effective policies, governments can create a legal and regulatory framework that supports the preservation of biodiversity and the sustainable use of natural resources. Government policies also provide a platform for collaboration between different stakeholders, including conservation organizations, scientists, local communities, and businesses. Through policy development and implementation, these stakeholders can work together to address environmental challenges, share knowledge and resources, and achieve common conservation goals. Strategies for supporting government policies for conservation. Stay informed. To effectively support government policies for conservation, it is crucial to stay informed about environmental issues, current policies, and proposed changes. Keep track of news, research, and reports related to conservation and policy developments. Join relevant organizations, subscribe to newsletters, and follow social media accounts that provide updates on conservation policies and initiatives. Engage with government officials. Engaging with government officials is an effective way to support conservation policies. Attend public meetings, town halls, and hearings related to environmental issues. Voice your concerns, provide input, and ask questions about proposed policies. Write letters or emails to your elected representatives expressing your support for conservation initiatives and urging them to prioritize environmental protection. Participate in public consultations. Many governments seek public input through consultations when developing or revising policies. Participate in these consultations by submitting written comments, attending public forums, or joining stakeholder meetings. Share your knowledge, experiences, and perspectives on conservation issues and propose solutions that align with sustainable practices. Collaborate with conservation organizations. Joining or supporting conservation organizations can amplify your impact in influencing government policies. These organizations often have expertise in policy advocacy and can provide guidance on effective strategies for influencing decision makers. By working together with like-minded individuals and organizations, you can collectively advocate for stronger conservation policies and initiatives. Support political candidates with conservation agendas. During elections, support political candidates who prioritize conservation and have a track record of supporting environmental policies. Research candidates' positions on conservation issues and vote for those who demonstrate a commitment to protecting wildlife and ecosystems. Additionally, consider volunteering or donating to their campaigns to help them gain the resources needed to advocate for conservation. Raise awareness and mobilize support. Educate others about the importance of conservation policies and the role they play in protecting our natural heritage. Use social media, organize community events, or give presentations to raise awareness about specific conservation issues and the need for strong government policies. Mobilize support by encouraging others to take action, sign petitions, or contact their elected representatives to express their support for conservation initiatives. Collaborate with indigenous communities. Indigenous communities often have traditional knowledge and practices that contribute to conservation efforts. Collaborate with indigenous communities to learn from their experiences and incorporate their perspectives into policy discussions. Support their rights to land and resources, as their stewardship of these areas often aligns with conservation goals. Promote sustainable development. Advocate for policies that promote sustainable development practices. Encourage governments to adopt regulations and incentives that support environmentally friendly industries, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture. By promoting sustainable development, we can ensure that economic growth is balanced with environmental protection. Monitor policy implementation. Once policies are in place, monitor their implementation and effectiveness. Hold governments accountable for their commitments and ensure that policies are being enforced. If there are gaps or shortcomings, advocate for necessary changes or improvements to strengthen conservation efforts. By actively engaging with government policies for conservation, individuals and organizations can contribute to the protection of wildlife, ecosystems, and the overall health of our planet. Through collaboration, advocacy, and support, we can help shape policies that prioritize conservation and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. 12.3 Advocacy and lobbying for conservation. Advocacy and lobbying play a crucial role in supporting conservation initiatives. While volunteering, donating, and promoting conservation in your community are important ways to contribute, advocating for policy changes and lobbying for stronger conservation measures can have a significant impact on protecting wildlife and preserving ecosystems. This section will explore the importance of advocacy and lobbying in conservation and provide practical tips on how to effectively engage in these activities. The power of advocacy. Advocacy involves actively supporting and promoting a cause or issue, in this case, conservation. It aims to raise awareness, influence public opinion, and ultimately drive policy changes that benefit wildlife and the environment. Advocacy can take various forms, including public speaking, writing letters or articles, organizing events, and using social media platforms to spread the message. Advocacy is essential because it helps to raise awareness. By advocating for conservation, you can educate others about the importance of protecting wildlife and ecosystems. This increased awareness can lead to a greater understanding of the issues at hand and garner support from a wider audience. Influence decision makers. Advocacy provides an opportunity to engage with policymakers, government officials, and other influential individuals. By presenting well-researched arguments and evidence, you can influence their decisions and encourage them to prioritize conservation efforts. Drive policy changes. Through advocacy, you can push for the development and implementation of stronger conservation policies and regulations. This can include advocating for the establishment of protected areas, the enforcement of wildlife protection laws, and the promotion of sustainable practices. Effective advocacy strategies. To be an effective advocate for conservation, consider the following strategies. Educate yourself. Stay informed about current conservation issues, scientific research, and policy developments. This knowledge will strengthen your arguments and enable you to engage in informed discussions. Identify key issues. Determine the specific conservation issues you are passionate about and want to advocate for. This could be protecting endangered species, combating habitat loss, or addressing climate change. Focusing on specific issues allows you to develop expertise and make a more significant impact. Build relationships. Establish connections with individuals and organizations involved in conservation. This includes joining local or national conservation groups, attending conferences and workshops, and networking with like-minded individuals. Building relationships will provide you with a support network and opportunities for collaboration. Develop clear messages. Craft concise and compelling messages that clearly communicate the importance of conservation. Tailor your messages to different audiences, such as policymakers, the general public, or specific interest groups. Use facts, personal stories, and visuals to make your messages more impactful. Engage with decision makers. Reach out to policymakers and government officials to express your concerns and advocate for conservation measures. This can be done through letters, emails, phone calls, or in-person meetings. Be respectful, well-prepared, and focus on presenting evidence-based arguments. Collaborate with others. Join forces with other advocates, conservation organizations, and community groups to amplify your impact. By working together, you can pool resources, share expertise, and coordinate efforts to achieve common conservation goals. Utilize social media. Leverage the power of social media platforms to raise awareness and engage with a broader audience. Share educational content, success stories, and calls to action. Use hashtags and tag relevant organizations or individuals to increase visibility. Participate in public consultations. Stay informed about public consultations related to conservation policies or projects. Participate by submitting written comments, attending public hearings, or providing oral testimony. This allows you to directly influence decision-making processes. Lobbying for conservation. Lobbying involves advocating for specific policy changes by directly engaging with policymakers and legislators. While advocacy focuses on raising awareness and influencing public opinion, lobbying aims to shape legislation and regulations. Lobbying can be done individually or collectively through conservation organizations. Here are some key considerations for effective lobbying. Know the legislative process. Familiarize yourself with the legislative process in your country or region. Understand how bills are introduced, debated, and passed into law. This knowledge will help you navigate the system and identify the best opportunities for lobbying. Identify key decision makers. Determine the policymakers and legislators who have the authority to influence conservation policies. Research their positions, voting records, and affiliations to understand their stance on environmental issues. This information will guide your lobbying efforts. Establish relationships. Build relationships with policymakers and their staff members. Attend public meetings, town halls, or community events where you can interact with them. Establishing personal connections can increase your credibility and make it more likely for them to consider your perspective. Provide expertise and evidence. When lobbying, present well-researched arguments supported by scientific evidence. Highlight the economic, social, and environmental benefits of conservation. Use case studies and success stories to demonstrate the positive impact of conservation measures. Be persistent and consistent. Lobbying is a long-term process that requires persistence. Maintain regular contact with decision makers, provide updates on relevant issues, and offer your expertise whenever needed. Consistency and perseverance can help build trust and increase the likelihood of policy changes. Collaborate with conservation organizations. Join forces with conservation organizations that have lobbying expertise and established relationships with policymakers. By working together, you can leverage their knowledge and resources to enhance your lobbying efforts. Follow ethical guidelines. Familiarize yourself with the ethical guidelines and regulations related to lobbying in your country or region. Ensure that your lobbying activities comply with these guidelines to maintain transparency and integrity. Remember, advocacy and lobbying are powerful tools for driving conservation action. By raising awareness, influencing decision makers, and advocating for policy changes, you can contribute to the long-term preservation of wildlife and ecosystems. 12.4 The role of law enforcement in conservation. Law enforcement plays a crucial role in conservation efforts around the world. With the increasing threats to wildlife and ecosystems, it is essential to have effective measures in place to enforce conservation laws and regulations. This section will explore the role of law enforcement in conservation and highlight the importance of their work in protecting our natural resources. The need for law enforcement in conservation. Conservation laws and regulations are put in place to protect wildlife, habitats, and ecosystems from various threats such as poaching, illegal logging, wildlife trafficking, and habitat destruction. However, without proper enforcement, these laws become ineffective, and the efforts to conserve and protect our natural resources are compromised. Law enforcement agencies, both at the national and international levels, are responsible for enforcing these laws and regulations. They work tirelessly to investigate and apprehend individuals and groups involved in illegal activities that harm wildlife and the environment. By doing so, they deter potential offenders and send a strong message that conservation crimes will not be tolerated. The role of law enforcement agencies. Law enforcement agencies involved in conservation efforts have a wide range of responsibilities. These include patrolling and surveillance. Law enforcement officers patrol protected areas, forests, and other vulnerable habitats to deter illegal activities. They monitor wildlife populations, identify potential threats, and gather evidence to build cases against offenders. Investigation and intelligence. Law enforcement agencies conduct investigations into wildlife crimes, gathering intelligence and evidence to identify and apprehend individuals involved in illegal activities. They work closely with other agencies, such as Customs and Border Control, to track down wildlife traffickers and intercept illegal wildlife products. Prosecution and legal action. Law enforcement agencies play a crucial role in ensuring that offenders are brought to justice. They work closely with prosecutors and legal authorities to build strong cases against individuals involved in wildlife crimes. By securing convictions and imposing appropriate penalties, they send a strong message that conservation crimes will not go unpunished. Capacity building and training. Law enforcement agencies provide training and capacity building programs to their officers and other stakeholders involved in conservation efforts. These programs aim to enhance their skills and knowledge in wildlife law enforcement, investigation techniques, and evidence collection. Collaboration and cooperation. Law enforcement agencies collaborate with other stakeholders, including conservation organizations, government agencies, and international bodies, to share information, resources, and expertise. This collaboration strengthens the effectiveness of conservation efforts and ensures a coordinated response to wildlife crimes. Challenges faced by law enforcement in conservation. Law enforcement agencies involved in conservation face numerous challenges in their work. Some of the key challenges include limited resources. Law enforcement agencies often face resource constraints, including inadequate funding, equipment, and personnel. These limitations can hinder their ability to effectively patrol protected areas and respond to wildlife crimes. Sophisticated criminal networks. Wildlife trafficking and other conservation crimes are often carried out by well-organized criminal networks. These networks operate across borders, making it challenging for law enforcement agencies to track and apprehend offenders. Corruption. Corruption within law enforcement agencies can undermine conservation efforts. It can lead to the leakage of sensitive information, the protection of offenders, and the obstruction of justice. Addressing corruption is crucial to ensuring the effectiveness of law enforcement in conservation. Lack of public awareness. Many people are unaware of the importance of conservation and the role of law enforcement in protecting wildlife and ecosystems. This lack of awareness can hinder public support for law enforcement efforts and make it more challenging to gather information and intelligence from communities. Enhancing law enforcement in conservation. To enhance the role of law enforcement in conservation, several measures can be taken. Increased funding and resources. Governments and international organizations should allocate adequate funding and resources to law enforcement agencies involved in conservation. This includes providing them with the necessary equipment, training, and personnel to effectively carry out their duties. Strengthening international cooperation. Wildlife crimes often involve transnational criminal networks. Strengthening international cooperation and collaboration among law enforcement agencies is crucial to combating these crimes effectively. This includes sharing intelligence, coordinating operations, and harmonizing laws and regulations. Public awareness and education. Raising public awareness about the importance of conservation and the role of law enforcement is essential. Education programs, public campaigns, and community engagement initiatives can help foster a sense of responsibility and support for law enforcement efforts. Addressing corruption. Governments and law enforcement agencies must take strong measures to address corruption within their ranks. This includes implementing robust anti-corruption policies, conducting regular integrity checks, and providing whistleblower protection. Capacity building and training. Continuous training and capacity building programs should be provided to law enforcement officers involved in conservation. This includes training in wildlife law enforcement techniques, investigation methods, and the use of technology for surveillance and monitoring. Conclusion. Law enforcement agencies play a vital role in conservation by enforcing laws and regulations that protect wildlife and ecosystems. Their work is essential in deterring illegal activities, investigating wildlife crimes, and bringing offenders to justice. However, they face numerous challenges that need to be addressed to enhance their effectiveness. By providing adequate funding, strengthening international cooperation, raising public awareness, addressing corruption, and providing training and capacity building, we can support and empower law enforcement agencies in their crucial role in conservation.